bulbs some bromine, and in the other I have a vacuum. And if I open the tap between these two, you will see spontaneously the bromine rush from one to the other.
It states that within such system, the degree of disorder, also known as the entropy, will always increase. Another way to state the second law is that the entropy of the universe increases in the course of any spontaneous change. Of course, in thermodynamics, the universe is comprised of the system and its surroundings. Because of the second law, a gas will expand to fill the void. Gas atoms do not spontaneously gather in a corner of a room.
In some volume, V, and over here is going to be vacuum of equal volume, and we're going to remove the barrier. You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available, right? You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available. And we're going to remove the barrier. The gas is going to fill the available volume.
Yo, Fluffs, what's up? It's good to see you all. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you could make it. It's good to be here. We got Mr. PJ in the house, Mr. Michael, and Mr. Roger. How you guys all doing?
Eating, guys, eating, because my stream went on so long. Went well, though. Good stream, but all good.
Wonderful, sir.
Fantastic.
Good to have you guys in, and everybody in the YouTube lands. Woohoo! Thank you for coming. I'm glad you could make it. We have an exciting stream tonight.
Nice.
It's quite a big channel, actually. Tim Pool, I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Very big channel.
Rings a bell.
Yeah, he had Austin Whitsitt and Alex Stein on, chatting or debating Flat Earth with Astronomy Live and Dr. Sanjanis, I think. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to see what I haven't watched any of it yet, though. But it was on his Culture War podcast. So I think it's going to be quite good. Thank you, everybody, for in the YouTube lands. Please hit the likes, share the show. Really appreciate it. And Reggio, what's up, man?
Reg. Nice to see you, man. Nice to see you. Again? We had a good conversation. Mike.
Your mic, man.
Flat. Mike.
No, I'm not talking.
Oh, okay. I want to see
Wait for Reg to talk.
When we were Reg talk, that was it.
Why not? Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, maybe he's struggling with his mic. Let's get this up. There we go. So, this is going to be interesting. This is from the Tim Pool Culture War. See, I see his podcast is 2 hours and 3 minutes long. So, we're definitely not going to get through all of it.
No.
Because I don't think we can sit here for 10 hours long.
No. Really good.
Godzilla 37, thank you very much for gifting 5 memberships. Really appreciate it, man. You are
sorry
awesome.
to interrupt. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we can hear you, Reg. Nice.
Okay, got you.
How's it going, man?
Going great. I was wondering if you guys was going to cover this today. I just caught it last night, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of it yet, so it's fresh for me. Is it worth it though? Because I do know Tim Pool usually has very good content. So
yeah, Tim Pool was being Tim Pool, but he wasn't like being like a glober or anything. He wasn't really interrupting. He actually let him speak, and I think it was more so the other guy that wasn't trying to let Whitsitt speak, but. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Astronomy Live.
Scott. Yeah, what's his name? Scott? I think his name Scott.
Yeah, Scott, the guy that's the NASA laptop.
Yeah. He wasn't. Yeah. He got 5 minutes to speak. You know. Yeah, he got 5 minutes to speak, and then when it
he's one of those anti-flat earthers, you know, that thinks he knows everything.
Yeah, well, you're gonna like this one because he admitted that he didn't know something, a couple of things.
That's quite good. Yeah, because Astronomy Lazarus got quite a big channel.
And then there was
Okay.
another guy there too. So he's like a theologist or something. He
Dr.
got
St. Genesis.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
seen him 1 or 2 times, but I didn't see
Yeah,
him.
I've seen him debate Pitch Lumen before, Dr. St. Genesis. And it wasn't a really good rebuttal he was giving. So I hope he would have a bit better things this time. But hey, it was a while ago since he's done that debate. Maybe he's sharpened his tool a bit. But we'll see.
Hey guys, that's I'm putting Reg's link in for him. He's not subbed. I think he looks like he's got a cool channel.
Yeah.
Boxing and everything.
I'll go look
Excellent.
at it.
Gaming, boxing. Brilliant. There you
Okay.
go.
You guys ready to get onto it?
Go for it, bro.
We're not capped to 2 hours tonight, so if it does go on longer, cool.
Yeah, I said that as well.
And I asked the audience. I said, look, it's your guys' memberships that help fund Timcast, the Culture War, the Morning Show, and all that stuff. Should we send Alex Stein to Antarctica to prove that the Earth is indeed not flat and it's not an ice wall? 99% said yes. It's $30,000. And I said, okay, Alex, when are you going to Antarctica? Mm-hmm. So answer the question.
Well, I guess today we'll make that decision live on the show.
But
one thing I will say is that
He has got quite plump, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot bigger, isn't he? A lot plump.
Yeah, he's definitely been treated well with his food.
Ain't the Alex Stein I used to know.
Every time I see him, I wonder, is he sitting there in shorts?
I got the same feeling too. Yep.
It's like pink shorts or something.
we have a great guy here by the name of Austin Whitsitt that is going to Antarctica on this expedition with ALE. So, in a way, I kind of feel like I'm going because I trust Austin. So, I saved you $30,000. So you're welcome, Tim.
Sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
And you should really. You could get.
So
He's
he's not.
Oh, sorry.
So he isn't going then, Alex Stein.
No, he's going vicariously through Whitsitt. That's how he's going. He just said it, didn't he? I'm going through him, so he's going vicariously. Hey, Jeff, good to see you, bro. How are it goes?
Good to see you guys. Okay.
Give me a check for $15,000 because we're not going to use it, and then we can just call it even.
We'll get you halfway to Antarctica.
I'll just go to Chile. Okay, but this is also, everybody's like, oh, it's so easy to go to Antarctica. First of all, and Austin can elaborate further on this, you have to fly from Dallas to Santiago, Chile, then Santiago, Chile to Punta Arenas, the tip of Chile, and then you got to take a flight from Chile, from Punta Arenas, the southernmost part of Chile, and take a 4-hour flight and land on the ice in Antarctica.
So you think that the Earth
What's
is...
interesting about that, they could have taken it from Cape Town as well.
Well, what's even more interesting is hours and hours of flat Earth proof right there.
The way they have to take those flights to get to there. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But like I was saying, if you go on ALE's site and you look at some of the trips and stuff they're doing, so I think it's ALE that does it, but a lot of trips to Antarctica go from Cape Town. So it's odd that they're actually going to making it much more difficult going all the way to Argentina to do this. With Chile, where they could just go to Cape Town, one flight, and then just go from there that one flight. It's weird. But I still don't really know if it's really going to happen, guys.
Yeah.
Because I heard Whitsitt talk about it in the Earth Awakening, and he was kind of saying that they wasn't trying to pay for a lot of things, and it's kind of not what they told him. So it's kind of like they're trying to leave a lot of they're trying to put a lot on the flat earthers. And they're trying to put a lot of expenses that they said the flat earthers didn't have on them, and telling them to get certain things and do certain things, or else it's not going to happen.
But that's dishonest, though, Reg, because Will Duffy was making it very sound like everything is going to be sorted for you. You know what I mean? And I think he did say that.
Yeah,
The
it
only
seems like it's not though. No, a
yeah,
lot of it's going to be put on Jaren and the flat earthers.
And
When I talked
So
to
I
him,
think
it sounded like he was going to let me go ahead and just. I would have a free trip at the very beginning, dude.
I
He
think
made it seem.
he's only paying for the trip, but far as any equipment that the flat earth is supposed to have, he's not paying for that. So of course you're gonna want
wow.
to have your own
Okay.
camera.
Why
You're
didn't we
going
get
to
them a
have your
check?
own, yeah.
But like I said, I don't really think this is going to happen because a lot of the times they won't fly out if the weather's bad,
right.
and usually a lot of the time, especially in this time of the year, the weather is bad.
Definitely. Sean said something in chat.
Yeah, I already put it up on screen.
Oh, did you? Did you? Sorry.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Sean, man.
All right, man. Definitely.
Okay.
It's flat and there's a giant ice wall.
I do not believe in the heliocentric model that they described. That the
Oh, heliocentric.
well, obviously the Earth is, there's mountains, there's valleys.
No, but heliocentric means that the sun is.
Excuse me, I'm a geocentrist. I don't believe in
But
that.
the Earth could still be round.
Yeah, theoretically, that's what.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna half the chat is like you're all stupid, and the other half is like LOL. So let's do a round of introductions for everybody before we just jump right into the debate. Sir, would you like to start with your credentials, who you are, what do you do?
My name is Robert Sangenis, and
Yeah, so there's Dr. Sangenis, that's right.
You know when they say it's not flat. You
Yeah,
can't
I
be
did.
flat.
I seen him like 1 or 2 times.
You know when he says, when they say it's not flat because it can't be flat because you've got topography. Well, the same applies to them. It can't be a globe because you've got topography. It's the same thing.
You got it.
But
Same
ask
thing.
any flat earther, we don't say it's flat as a tabletop. We're just saying the aspect shape is
It's an
flat.
aspect. Yeah, exactly. It's an aspect. Flat is an aspect. Of
Yeah.
level. Sorry.
and I've written many books, half of them on science, and one of them is called Galileo Was Wrong, the Church Was Right.
Really?
That's a 3-volume, 2,200-page thing. So we cover the history, the ecclesiastics, the science, and anything else that's available to talk about. So that's one of my claims to fame. And the other is we put out a movie in 2014 called The Principle. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. You haven't heard of it?
No, I've not heard of it.
This is yours.
Oh, all
Tim,
right.
you need to watch that documentary.
Hey, Flats.
It's a very good documentary.
Yeah,
Have you ever watched The Principle itself?
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it now.
Yeah, it's decent. They do call out pseudoscience. That's about the biggest part of it. But they get labeled for doing it, and that movie got censored because of it. But yeah, it's a geocentric movie. I like Sangenis to that point.
Yeah, Sangenis is a geocentrist as far as I know, but he's a glober still.
Yeah, he's still a glober. I mean, Witz is the only flat earther there. So it's
Yeah,
really 3 versus 1 right now.
Well,
Besides Alex Stein, I think.
He's weird because he's between flat and he's between just globe. Well, he's just geocentrist, but he hasn't really he's fence sitting when it comes to flat Earth. You know what I mean?
Who?
Alex Stein.
Oh yeah,
Alex Stein. Yeah.
Stein.
But yeah, Sangenis is definitely a glober geocentrist, and Astronomy Live Scott is a full-out anti-flat earther. He's a glober heliocentrist full-out.
Yeah, we're going to see that very fast.
Is it on like Amazon or any streaming service?
It's on streaming. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it from
Okay, cool. We can put it on afterwards. We'll put it on.
Sure.
Yeah. Because we don't have a DVD player.
Oh, okay. Nobody does anymore.
Right. All right. So it should be interesting.
That was a theatrical release.
Oh,
in
okay, cool.
2014. We started in Chicago, went to LA, and then 15 more cities in the U.S. It was on AMC, Regal Cinemas.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big deal, but it got shot down, and it became a flop because we had a lot of enemies.
Do you want to pull your mic up a little bit closer?
Yeah, it sucks to have enemies, especially when you're in mainstream stuff.
That's right.
Look at even, for instance, famous actors and stuff, they can't really get jobs. For instance, Kevin Sorbo. Remember Hercules?
Uh,
When he decided he's only going to do Christian content, you know how difficult things got for him in Hollywood just because he says he refuses to do the things they wanted him to do. What's that one guy that usually plays the villain in Christian movies?
Who?
He's
Sorry.
like he's got light hair. He usually plays like the Antichrist and stuff, and plays Satan a lot.
Oh, no.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of a name.
But anyway, that guy, he in the one movie they wanted him to kiss a woman, and he says, "I refuse. I only kiss my wife because of my Christian values." Well, they fired him, and he can't get a job again in Hollywood since then. So he can only do Christian movies since then.
Weird.
Because,
Well,
yeah, the mainstream Hollywood scene is very perverted. You know what I mean? And they don't like Christian values at all. And even with Dr. St. Janis, he's a Christian actually. So if it goes against what heliocentrist cultists say, well, he's kind of black flagged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Blacklisted.
get that feeling myself, man. Yeah. We get it daily, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Which is sad. That shows you the bias that people have.
I'm getting ready to get a tramp stamp myself.
Right, we'll get into all of that.
Sorry?
They're going to give me the tramp stamp. I looked at YouTube in my subscription. Yeah, I'm going to be tramp. Nice. I'm going to get it on my channel.
You're a doctor, though. I think that's important, right? You have credentials.
Yeah, I have credentials.
There you go.
All of them are in theology.
Oh, excellent.
But I was a physics major in college, too, so I know some of the science.
Oh, very, very nice. All right, sir. How about you, good sir? I hear you're going to Antarctica?
Yeah. My name's Austin Whitsitt. I run the channel Whitsitt Gets It. I describe myself as autodidactic, maybe. So I just dove into cosmology a lot over the last few years. So that's my primary focus. It is not what we have been told. It is cosmology.
He looks kind of stressed.
He does.
Stressed.
He does, yeah. A little bit.
That's unusual for Whitsitt. He usually calm, collected.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, much as I don't agree with him, he is a smart guy, and he knows how to talk. I mean, I don't think it's just word. Sometimes it's word salad. He knows what he's talking about, but I don't agree with him on a lot of things. I just think he's smart. You know what I mean?
It was Neil McDonough. There we go. Exactly, Derek.
Thank you very much. I was trying to look for it and I couldn't find it. It's giving me 50s actors and stuff, people from the 50s.
Well, Lewis had been preparing for this for a while. I mean, it's like, I'll be on FED and he was on QE in the after show. When we were speaking with him, he was talking about he was going to be on a real big podcast, and we all assuming it was Tim Cass, so it was Tim Pool's show. So he was preparing for this for a while. He was actually asking, what should he bring up? Should he bring up things about the ether if it come up and things of that nature? And then we was like, hey man, why don't you just bring up the proofs of the flat Earth? If it's a flat Earth discussion, you could just keep it at that. That way they don't pinch it, hold you into something that you don't believe. But yeah, this was like in an even after show, and
I think I was there for that in the Discord. Yeah.
I think this whole thing actually came up as well because Tim Pool was trying to fund the trip for Alex Stein to go to Antarctica for the Flatzoid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of built up onto this. But this is a good thing, just like Sean was saying earlier. It's a good publicity for Flat Earth.
Right.
So that actor Neil McDonough, I mean, he just does Christian movies now. Because I remember him loads of Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
Wow, I just didn't know his name, so I just checked him out after. Wow.
And he always plays the villain. You know what I mean?
He always plays a bad kind of guy. Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, I did a lot of activism during the 2020 range. So that's kind of what started me down making content. So yeah, I primarily focus on cosmology, and I'm going to Antarctica.
All right.
And Should be exciting. Should be exciting.
And you think the Earth is flat?
Yes.
Austin's
House.
he's
He's the
number
guy, huh?
one when it comes to flat Earth, backwards and forwards. This guy knows it better than anybody else in the world.
And we got one more gentleman with us, sir. Who are you?
So my name is Scott Ferguson.
He's Astronomy Live.
Looks right.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I run the channel Astronomy Live. I have a PhD, but it's in neuroscience. But Austin invited me to come here today, I guess, as a representative for the mainstream science. So I do.
Oh, it's probably just him or Red's rhetoric. So.
Rather him. Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Astronomy. I develop a lot of software for tracking rockets and satellites.
Sorry, can you put your mic closer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I develop software for tracking rockets
you
and
know,
satellites with off-the-shelf telescope.
This is the guy who I messaged when he was doing a live stream. He was filming Moon. I says, why can't we see it flag, dude? And he was like, oh, it'd be perished by now.
Yeah. But isn't this the same Astronomy Live guy that did the with Red Rhetoric, where they were trying to work out parallax for the transit of the ISS with the moon? I think it is.
So. I think so. Yeah, Scott. Yeah, I think so. That was him.
Yeah, because I've actually messaged Scott on a few messages and stuff, and like with Astronomy Live. That's why I said this guy's like full blown anti-flat Earth.
Yeah, he's going to demonstrate that.
When you were in chat, weren't you, a bit ago being a knob?
Mm-hmm. Hey, Gio, good to see you, man. Haven't seen you in a while.
Film a lot of rocket launches, film a lot of satellites, ISS, all kinds of stuff. I've measured the radius of the Earth, the distance of the sun.
No, you
the
haven't.
Yeah,
That's a lie. You can't measure it. You can calculate.
Why they come up with these claims that they did all of this stuff and they filmed it, and then you go on their channel, you don't see none of it. They measuring the flat Earth.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I measured the radius of the Earth. No, you haven't. You did like
with what?
Calculate.
Exactly. How?
What have you measured curvature with? Show me what tool.
And I mean, you've got to physically do something to measure. Otherwise, it's a calculation. And
Yeah.
it's based on rubbish.
And measured the distance of the sun. No, you haven't. You calculated it.
Right.
Based
With an
on-
assumption of a radius value.
An assumption, exactly.
They got it from Venus, right?
The
The
big
transit.
all the time.
All the calculations that they use come from already having a radius set value. It's insanity that they keep claiming measurements for something they don't measure.
Distance of Mars, the distance of various satellites. So yeah, I mean, my amateur astronomy hobby probably has some applicability, but for full declaration, like my PhD in neuroscience is irrelevant to the discussion today.
I watched a video on X, and it was a rocket launch, and the rocket gets way up, and then all of a sudden it explodes. And I was told that it was the rocket hitting the firmament and blowing up, and that proves it, doesn't it?
In a way, it does. But, it's funny though you say that because
Why is that funny? Why are you laughing?
It's not funny at all.
Yeah, it's not a joke at all.
There's videos online, Tim, of like a little kid being like, "Daddy, why is that rocket curving?" If you ever see a rocket launch, they always do curve.
It's the Coriolis effect.
Yeah, right.
No. What he's saying is it's arcing.
Right.
So it's arcing and it's going down into the ocean. What you guys claim the official narrative for rebuttal based on that is it's just following the orbital path. So in other words, it's going up so it can fall down and go around in an orbital path. That's the official
slingshot. Yeah.
I remember years ago growing up when they said it was arcing. They said that the rocket usually heads. They always had a rocket launches in Florida. So when the rocket do the arching, it's going to head into the ocean. That's why they do most of the rocket launches near the ocean. But now they don't admit that no more. So it's like,
why do you think they shoot over to the Bermuda Triangle?
And Nemo Point too, right? Don't forget Nemo. That's where
Yeah,
they
but
shoot
Nemo's a bit further on, but they shoot to the Bermuda Triangle. yeah, there's not really shipping paths that go through there. And even if it is, it's such a large area of water that there's not really any way to observe if something had to fall into the ocean there.
Right.
And nobody's going to go to the Bermuda Triangle to explore, to find things under the ocean. Which is actually interesting because I think I saw a documentary once where they actually found a piece of a shuttle. I think it was the Challenger. You know, the one that exploded?
Yeah, they found it in Bermuda Triangle.
In the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes, the one that exploded.
And
yeah, we know what happened.
And what was weird was because the way it exploded, there was supposed to be nothing left of it. But they got like full wings and everything of it, full panels. Yeah. So there's some dodgy stuff going on there.
Didn't they say they found the bodies too? I remember them saying that they found the bodies of the astronauts too.
Vaporized, weren't they?
Well, they would have been vaporized, wouldn't they? But we know exactly that they wasn't.
Yeah. No, we know where they are.
I just don't know why they go and take the people that they're doppelgangers, as they put them, and just do DNA tests and all that.
Mm. Yeah, and the point is that why is it? The point is why is it a joke? Like, you know, this actually happened. It's true. This is something that we all observe. It's something that even NASA admits. So, how's it funny?
Well, the scary thing about that was, like, I was at school, and after all different NASA missions that they had, that was the only one that they actually rolled a TV into classroom and made you watch.
That's right.
Yeah,
I remember that too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm sick of this. And then this another thing is, well, because my biological stepfather, Tucker Carlson, I love you very much, Tucker. Thank you for everything you do. He came on my show and we debated flat Earth a little bit. And he's like, well, I don't think it can be flat because snipers have to factor in the Coriolis effect. Yet if you talk to any sniper, they never have to do that calculation. They've never.
Thank you. They don't. When they shoot far distances, they don't take Coriolis into account. There's no Coriolis deviation taken. It's literally you do your dope, you do your groupings, so you take your dope, and based on that, you know what you're shooting. So the biggest variable is wind, always, not Coriolis.
Always wind. Yeah, weather.
Yeah,
direction of the wind. Obviously, that's the only thing. If main thing gets taken account.
Yeah. I just have to put this up.
Oh yeah.
The Challenger bodies were vaporized so badly they got reincarnated to new jobs at universities. Wow.
Sean's the card, ain't he? Yeah.
Careful, because Globies will be flipping.
Well, they flipped anyway. I mean, look at that short I made the last time. I took the Challenger deep photos and I made them all like bob their heads like this, and I put a background song as "I Believe I Can Fly." They didn't like it. They reported it so badly that YouTube made me take it down.
No doubt. No doubt.
Hey, QE's doing the same thing right now.
Oh, this stream
It's
as
really
well.
weird. Yeah, he's doing the Robert St. Genis and Austin Whitsitt. Astronomy Live. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this literally happened yesterday.
There's not.
Yeah, it happened like when I
Last
found
night.
this like 22 hours ago.
A sniper that's ever done that in battle, done a Coriolis mathematical equation to figure it out.
Well, Google says you're wrong. And if Google says it, that
Google
proves it.
also says, what does it say? It says a man can have a baby.
And we always say that.
That's such
We
a
always say
good
that
point.
Google says. There's so much things that Google says that's not right. Remember, Google at the end of the day is just programmed to say things that is put into its data.
What about when Google contradicts a globe?
Yep.
A lot of times it does. Oh, I'm loving Alex Stein at the moment. Keep it up, man.
So, I mean, Google says men can get pregnant.
I gotta be honest though. That that actually does make it challenging to a certain degree. Obviously, you can measure these things, but when Google tells you men can get pregnant, it does call into question a lot of the claims they make, because we're like, hold on there a minute. But without diving into that subject, there's an interesting point about whether we trust mainstream acceptable knowledge, right? And so if we go back to hundreds of years, and you'll know this better than me, but when the view was that we were a geocentric solar system or universe, that was the mainstream view, was it not?
Sure.
Wow, 100 years ago. So
That's a
not
long time ago.
not 500 years. The anti-flat Earth's pushing.
A quick point about Google. They don't understand that Google is just a medium. It's not like a source. Like anybody could put any information on Google, and Google is going to, you know, whether have the most popular algorithm, Google is going to show it to you. So it's just a medium. I mean, you could buy ads on Google and promote whatever source you want to promote. It's just a medium with multiple sources. So you still got to do your due diligence to see what is true and what is not true. So,
But that's a say, yeah, it's just a database. It's like a server. You have a server, and whatever data you put onto that server, that's what Google is. It's just the outlet point for all their data. So you can put anything in there. It's going to tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
Garbage in, garbage out. That's
Right.
really the principle.
Garbage in, a lot more garbage out. It kind of multiplies. It multiplies.
I have to shout out to Tim Pool, though. I do like the way he is answering this. He's not answering in a biased kind of way, which I do like.
yeah, Temple was pretty good in this one. He wasn't what we suspect him to be. He was pretty good in this one.
But it's interesting now that he says, yeah, so only 100 years ago that they started pushing heliocentrism was actually geocentric. But a lot of the anti-flat earthers are thinking, no, it's been around for 2,500 years. Everybody knows it was heliocentric, or 500 years at least. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, a guy was arguing with me just the other day about ancient science. Like ancient science?
What ancient science? Insanity.
How old is science again there?
The scientific method been out for millions of years? Okay.
Millions. 43 billion years ago.
The scientific method was made by Christians because they needed a way to have a method that was empirical without bias.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it really odd that you get so many atheists in the scientific community these days. But a lot of them at the end of the day get to understand that either there is a God, so they become theists.
And loads of ads.
Sorry?
I'm saying I've had 3 ads so far.
3 ads?
Really? 3 ads. It's the first time I've ever had that. 3 ads. I've only ever had 1 ad go through your stream before at start. Now I've had 3 for some reason.
Why is it? Oh. Well, I have no idea what's going on. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. I don't know if anybody else did.
In my studio, I pressed delay ad now.
Maybe it was just me. Maybe, I don't know.
But it's 10 minutes. Now it only delays it for 10 minutes. I don't know if there's a setting or...
I don't think you've done anything because it's never done it before.
No, that's a
maybe maybe it's just a glitch for me. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I was just letting you know just in case there was something.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, guys. I didn't put it on, guys. Sorry, I don't know. Okay. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Tim Pool. I think the guy's doing a great job.
So people generally accepted the Earth was the center of the universe.
Well, the Greeks were divided. Pythagoras was a geocentrist. By the time of Aristotle, the same thing. But Aristarchus of Samos was a heliocentrist. And that's where Copernicus got his model from.
Exactly.
It's stolen, dude. That's what it is.
Yep. And and Copernicus was seen as a heretic as far as I know. Hey,
Chuck,
what's
saying? Good to see you, bro. Sorry.
Yeah. As far as I know, Copernicus was actually seen as a heretic in the day.
Aristarchus. Copernicus didn't really do much work, measuring planets and all that. So he got it from the Greeks, but he got the same model that was built on circles. So his model really didn't work well until Kepler came along and put them in elliptical orbits, and it worked a little better, but it still wasn't perfect. But Copernicus basically was copying from the Greeks.
So, what's your view? You think it's a geocentric solar system or universe? How would you describe it?
I do, yeah. And with Newton, that was not allowed. Newton had equations, F equals ma, and some other ones that only allowed a heliocentric universe. The rest of the universe was absolute and inert. It had no effect on our solar system. So the way Newton figured things out was the sun's the biggest thing, has the most gravity. That means all the planets have to go around it, including the Earth.
You see, that's what I was saying. That's why it's based on bias. They already made up their mind onto what's supposed to happen. So they've made a biased deduction, and they do a God of the gaps argument.
Right.
So they've made up their mind, and they work their model out towards their bias. St. Genesis is correct, yeah. He's really saying it actually correct. But do I agree that it's a globe geocentric? No, I don't. But when it does come to this story, and this is why the heliocentric model is falling apart every single day right now, and they struggling as much as possible to try to figure out what gravity is because of this issue, because they keep finding more holes in their narrative. So they get God of the gaps argument. That's why they're sitting with quantum foam now. They're sitting with dark matter. They're sitting with the three-body problem. They're sitting with everything that just, at the end of the day, it's going to amount to so much that they're going to have to decide, are we just going to accept it's false or not? Because they're going into the 12th dimension with string theory already to try fit everything together. I mean, 12 dimensions. Come on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's insanity.
It is.
Earth.
And if you just understood that the Earth was a stationary enclosed plane,
it's simple. It's really easy.
You don't have to worry about all this nonsense they're sticking into there that you keep on having to put God of the gaps arguments in.
Mm-hmm. I mind the gap. It's in mind the gap and all it well.
And that's all his system would allow because he dealt only with the solar system and forgot the rest of the universe.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
So is the Earth stationary?
Yeah.
So you do believe in a stationary Earth?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about that, Scott? You don't believe in that, obviously.
No, I mean,
1 minute.
So in
1 minute. If it's stationary, why would it be a sphere?
Well, he still believes it's a sphere. He just believes it's
geocentric but sphere.
Geocentric but sphere. So just like, but he missed it out. Ptolemy was actually before Copernicus. Was believing it's heliocentric, but he's still under the impression of the original Greek geocentric Aristotle model. So he's taken, and that's what he's built his whole basis on.
Mm-hmm. So gravity is the real reason he thinks it's a sphere? Is that what he's...
Actually,
yeah. Actually, yeah. That's what he believes.
Yeah, because he needs the gravity for the orbits to happen and for it to form. So because he believes the orbits are based on gravity and mass attracts mass, therefore it has to be a sphere.
Good guy.
Yeah,
That's
biased belief.
in general relativity, we
And I have to point out, if you see a guy with a laptop and all these types of stickers on, it makes you wonder how his room looks.
He'll have the Millennium Falcon hanging from his ceiling.
This is when you know a guy really hasn't grown up.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say something about Michio Kaku and string theory a minute ago. And yeah, he drive yourself mad just delving into it. I know a girl here that she's big into it, and she's hard to talk to, dude. And she's not very sociable, but yeah, it'll drive you nuts, dude.
Your string theory is hard to talk about. It's hard to keep up.
I think that's why they made it.
Yeah, but also string theory isn't really taken that serious in the whole physics community that much. They don't really like string theorists because it gets into multiple levels of metaphysics that they don't want. So because it debunks practically what they want it to be. They don't really ascribe to it that much.
Right. It's kind of like quantum mechanics a little bit. They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like certain parts of quantum mechanics neither, because it
Yeah,
debunks.
they like some parts and they don't like some parts.
Right.
They only choose the parts they want. It's very selective. If you haven't realized, anything with the globe and gravity and everything, it's very selective.
It's very fragile, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Describe a
Yeah.
What RWN real world use is? Earth is a double ball size with what the heck? What does that mean?
It's a big globe.
That's why it was hilarious when the one guy, what's the guy name? You guys just reacted to him, and I was looking at the guy video, and the guy was like, "Yeah, the globe model have a singular model, and everything works in it. Like, oh, it's one model.
Birdman,
I think it's more than one model, sir."
Yep. Yeah,
but you see, this is the issue these guys don't understand. You got a model for a certain aspect or something.
Right.
Like you got a model for the tides. You got a model for road mapping. You got a model for seismic waves. You got a model for topography. You got a model. You don't just put a globe there and say, "There, this is a model for
There's
everything."
the model. No, there's loads of individual models.
It doesn't work that way.
Flats, can we invite this guy on? He says, I can prove with scientific method that the Earth is a double-sized ball with Antarctica as equator line.
Yeah, that's what I was just reading out before. Yeah, what he was on about.
Yeah.
Yeah, come in.
We'll give you a few minutes to come and present that.
Links at the top.
I hardly doubt he's going to be using scientific method, like, but.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, bring it on, man. The link is above. We'll be more than happy to entertain you for a few minutes to show us this proof. Okay, let's go on.
reference frame in which Earth is centered and stationary. But general relativity says there is no preferred reference frame. You can't have an absolute reference frame in general relativity. It just doesn't work. So, you can describe things that way, but yeah, in my view, it makes sense that, the sun has the most mass in the solar system. Sure, you can describe a reference frame where Earth is stationary, but you could equally describe one where we go around the solar system barycenter. I'm not a heliocentrist in the sense that I think that our solar system's the center of the universe. Obviously, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but there's a lot of talk about the cosmic microwave background radiation, and that's basically a fragment from...
Just saying words doesn't make you smart, man.
No.
First of all, incoherent babble. All the things he's placing together don't actually follow each other.
No.
Yeah.
Microwave background radiation has nothing to do with the mass of the sun. The mass of the sun has nothing to do with general relativity. And the fact he opens and saying, we're not able to tell based on reference frames with absolute, that is a globe problem.
Right.
Yes.
Not a reality problem. That's a
I want to
globe
see
problem.
that. I want to see his mass of the sun.
To make a real quick point about this, you will understand who's really talking babble and who's really talking, whose points are incoherent, because when Tim Pool is there, whenever Tim Pool could follow a conversation, you look at any of Tim Pool like podcasts, and he usually asks his interviewers questions, like follow-up questions, and tell them like to explain something a little bit more, elaborate a little bit more, and he pretty much have an understanding of what he knows what you're talking about. He just wants the audience to elaborate a little bit more. But if you're just talking really nonsense and it's like incoherent where he can't understand, he won't even ask that question because he don't know where to lead the conversation to. So you're gonna see the difference when he's interacting with this guy and when he's interacting with Whitsitt, Stein, and the other guy. He's going to ask them to elaborate a little bit more, even though Flat Earthers is going to look at it like, oh, Tim is really getting on them. But honestly, he does this all the time, and he usually asks them to elaborate. What do that mean? What do this mean? So the audience can know what you're talking about. But with this guy, he just really just letting him go on because I think Tim just really can't keep up with what this guy's even saying because he's all over the place.
Yeah, but you see, that's what I'm saying. He's trying to sound intelligent. If you just say a whole bunch of words in succession, then it sounds like you know what you're talking about to people that don't know what's going on. And that's what he's doing. Because he's talking so fast And if they aren't in this arena actually listening to what he's saying and don't understand what's being said, you're just going to accept it as, oh, this guy's smart. But in the meantime, what he's talking about doesn't follow each other. He's just sticking a whole bunch of beliefs together and calling it a once-off kind
Right.
of argument.
Like
As I said to
scattered
RWN, why don't you come in rather than trying to debate through text? Because it's a lot easier
dude, that's
to talk.
aggravating. Yeah,
A lot easier to talk, man. Just come in, press the link.
Moon at the same time as Jonestown, Africa, and Helsinki, Finland. Same side is seen making. No, that doesn't make the doesn't make the Earth a ball.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Okay. Anyway, if that is going to be his proof, then you know it's not going to be a really. Hey, his humble servants are saying, "What's up, man? Good to see you."
I just saw him.
He said, "Did they
Hey,
say
good
no
to see you.
Morales again? I have shown shooters on video talk about it. 6.5 Creedmoor at 1K yards, 1.4 MIA for the shooter I showed." We'd actually have to
answer that.
have a conversation with him sometime. Yeah.
Just because they talk about it don't mean they're actually correcting for Coriolis.
Yeah. They don't. If you ask them how, they won't be able to tell you how. But Humble Servant would love to have a conversation with you sometime on this, man.
I've got a video of an ex Navy sniper saying that they don't account for it.
Just sub to him. I just realised I wasn't sub to his Humble Servant, so I've just subbed Humble.
Yeah, he's got awesome Christian content, by the way.
Yeah,
guys.
I didn't. I thought I was sub to him already, but
yeah. Do you subscribe to his Humble Servant? Got awesome Christian content.
Let me go grab his link.
Yeah. Okay, let's carry on. But yeah, guy, Humble Servant, message me on Discord, man. We work out. Maybe we can have a discussion sometime on it. I'd love to. Okay, let's carry on.
The Big Bang, where you have this leftover radiation, and certain aspects of it seem to suggest that it aligns well with the ecliptic plane, which is the orbits that the planets go around the sun. But those alignments are not as exact as some make them out to be. And there's also the fact that we have an annual shift in the cosmic microwave background radiation. You can actually see a modulation of it as we go around the sun every year.
Yeah, but in the cosmic microwave background, it does, in that picture, it shows the Earth as the center of the universe.
I got to do a pause real quick because we got fact checked by someone in the super chat already.
Yeah, that's not true. Google does say.
No, I'm sorry. I googled it, and Google says no. So
it used to say yes.
Look at this. Google's AI.
Then they've changed it. Then they've changed it because it did used to say a man can get pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed that.
You've searched it live before.
We've searched it live before. Yes.
I got a question for the Coriolis. What happened to gravity in the middle of the equation? Like when they're shooting, there's a downward bias, right? Regardless whether the Earth is spinning, everything's spinning with the Earth, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's like globiolus is what we're looking at, right?
Globiolus, yeah. Forgot about that one.
And, you know what's interesting about this, what he's showing now? We've seen this even, I remember it was like, a whole bunch of years ago. We were live still on FED with Nathan Oakley, and we were talking about Louis Picard and the upturned edges. And we were looking through a page where it's explaining this. While we were live, the information on that page changed. While we were live, we were actually talking about how it changed live. I think Chocolate Saying remembers this as well. They changed the information about it while we were live.
It's August Picard, though, not Louis.
Picard, yes.
Well, I'm gonna fact check them again because Google definitely is saying yes, and it's right here.
Are you able to share the screen?
I don't know if I could. Can I share the screen?
RWN already said there's no point in debating in text wise. We're talking, so I'm not gonna see it, dude.
To be honest, I'm enjoying this chat on.
Yeah, exactly. So
more. If he wants to debate it, he can email us, and then we can set up any kind of an actual debate with us. Because if he's going to bring up the sun, you can see it on the same side. Therefore, globe. It already shows the guy. Me or worse.
Isn't the same quandary would have been as a glober because you're just claiming a bigger globe, so
Exactly.
you're still
That's
in a predicament there, pal.
Mhm. There we go, Reggio. Let me make it bigger. There we go.
Okay, you got it.
Can men get pregnant?
So it's right here. You got transgender pregnancy. Of course, I mean, I guess they want to say they're not men, but you got
Okay, but
transgender men. Where it at? Where it at? All right, what I just synced it.
Can I?
There
Can
it
I
is,
share
right
my-
here. Healthline. Can men get pregnant? Outcomes for trans and what I guess cisgender men. They say yes, it's possible for men to become pregnant and give birth to children of their own. I mean, I don't know how else can they,
Wow.
That's why I say Google is just a medium. Anybody could put stuff on there. Like,
Can I share my Google because mine's better?
I remember when they how Michael says it, the boogie V. You know what I mean? The jabbity jab jab jab. I remember when that was out. If you typed in Google, a certain number between 1,000 and 10,000, any number you wanted, you could do it multiple times. Just say you chose 1,021, and you said new cases after it of that boogie, right? And then you'd search it, and it would tell you it had the exact number in a certain place, a certain country, certain town, a certain time. You could do it again with another number. It would say that as well, anywhere, So Google was
There we
like,
go.
they were in cahoots with them.
I mean,
But there's another one. Yes, men can become pregnant, but
what
it's
Tim
accomplished
talking about?
medical and social
No.
considerations. But there we
What's
go.
up-
Biological men don't have a uterus, but it's theoretically possible to implant an embryo. Oh no!
what Tim is reading? What are you talking about?
I bet they're using DuckDuckGo or something stupid like that.
So
Oh, man.
animals in the wild or males actually have a chance of getting pregnant somehow. I just wonder about.
Well, Tim Pool, if you are watching this, because I have tagged him and everybody on their panel, if you are watching this, would be great
Just
if you
fact check your fact checker.
Yeah, just fact check your fact check, man. Okay, let's carry on.
AI says no. A person born with male reproductive organs and living as a man cannot get pregnant.
Wow.
Wow, that changed.
It says, however, some transgender men and non-binary people can become pregnant.
The Trump effect.
Well, it used to be
there
yes.
you go.
Oh, but back to the cosmic microwave background.
Yeah, back to the.
It says if you do believe that is a real thing, right?
Of course.
Yeah, and it does show that the Earth is the center of that.
Well, what it shows is it shows certain alignments, but they're off by anywhere from 8 to 17 degrees if you convert it to ecliptic coordinates. So if you
convert to ecliptic coordinates, so in other words, let me convert it to something I want to suit my narrative, then it would be off. Okay.
That's not much.
See why I say everything's very selective with these guys? Very selective.
I got to give it to Alex. He's asking questions back at him right there. in the
I'm
middle.
not gonna lie, Alex is doing pretty good as a flat earther.
Yeah, I mean, he's usually just a very big joker, and I have to say, he does seem to be doing quite well in this.
I mean, you're making it sound like that's a whole big deal. It's not much.
But I think
you have the quadrupole, the octopole, the axis of evil, three that are different, and so they're going to be shooting up in different directions.
those are all different from each other as well. They're all about 8 to
but they're not
17
different in the sense that they're looking at a different microwave radiation. They're just modulating it differently because now you have 8 harmonic.
But I'm saying they're not all co-aligned. They're off by 8 to 17 degrees. I mean, it's
but
it's
the
an
middle of that
coincidence,
8 to
but it's
17
not.
degrees is the axis of evil.
Right. He's still centered, which shows Earth center. Astronomy doesn't know that.
He doesn't.
It's sort of like taking what's that thing that Peter Markley tried to do with me? I can't think of the
You
name.
talking about the sun?
No, where he took the 3 aligned, and then in the middle it tells you Think of the name now.
I can picture
That's
it.
the issue.
What is that?
Sorry?
No, I can picture what you're talking about. I was just on a site like last week. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah. Hey, Sean, what's up, man?
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
Good. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, this is a fun show. I'm glad you guys are reviewing this one.
Oh
Yeah, I just had to. I'm enjoying the chat so far. It's also funny to see two globies fighting it out.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I was I texted at some point during this yesterday morning, I texted Austin because Sangenis started to turn on Austin and like press Austin a little bit. And it was about biblical cosmology because Austin brought up the firmament. And Sangenis, I don't think you've got to this point yet, but I basically text Austin. I was like, "Hey, don't forget, you got to mention the sun, moon, and stars. Like the Israelite literature mentions, there's multiple layers of firmaments, and that's how the sun, moon, and stars are. It's not just one firmament. I mean, Deuteronomy 10:14, Yahweh is the Most High God who is at the heaven of the heavens. He's at the top. You know, there's so whether you believe in Judaism's interpretation of 3 firmaments or you believe in what I think is scripturally 7 firmaments, as did so many early church fathers, then there's that's an easy explanation for where the sun and moon and stars are placed in the firmament, but yet they're not just above the clouds in our atmosphere. And so I texted Austin to remind them of that, and he tried to bring it up later in the debate, but it kind of fell flat because Austin doesn't really argue from that position very often, you know.
Yeah, but Austin doesn't really like.
You're right. He doesn't.
He doesn't like arguing for the Christian waypoint of flat earther.
Yeah, I've noticed he wants to believe like he likes to lean towards the idea that the firmament is only solid because it's like it's a non-tangible solid that's created by either radiation or gases.
Yeah, he's going to explain that later on. I think that's the part I seen, the part you talking about.
Yeah.
But that's when they was in like in the room, Earth Awakening. That's how you was sending them messages or texting them.
Oh no, I just got his number because he's been on my show a few times and we've collaborated in the past. But yeah,
I know he was live on Discord too while he was on the show. So
was he really? Okay. Yeah, I was just happy to see this because Tim Pool's a big podcast, and I think how many views has this thing already gotten today?
Let's quickly check.
It looks like
it
already has 454,000 views.
Yeah, 156.
Yeah,
456.
And that's lots because
a lot of people watching yesterday.
Right.
And when I set my stream rate, it was 92K, so it's going up quite big.
Yeah, and this because like YouTube doesn't already have Tim Pool in some suppressive algorithm because he's normally just doesn't cover this topic. So it kind of like snuck it into the algorithm, you know.
Nice. Yeah, well, I don't see it on Markley's channel at all.
Yeah.
What you were talking about, I don't.
But I mean, I don't know if you've seen even Flat Earth is getting everywhere. I mean, I don't know if you've seen my series on Birdman lately. I mean, that guy's just got the big channel, and he's trying to attack my little me old channel as well. Everybody's trying to attack all the little Flat Earth channels, and it's all these big channels doing so. So there's a lot of exposure for the Flat Earth coming out in all the different circles on YouTube. So we're definitely getting the word out there.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, I think.
So far, so good, right?
Yeah. But I'm enjoying
this.
I
agree. Is it Reg Joe 23?
Yep. Reg Joe, how you doing?
Good, man. Good. I'm Sean. Nice to meet you. I agree with what you were saying earlier. Unfortunately, Tim Pool does try to play. He tries to come off as non-biased, but he does kind of lean towards the Glover at times with the way he asks certain questions. I know that Alex Stein has had conversations behind the scenes with him multiple times about the flat Earth. There was a broadcast in 2022 where Alex Stein was on his show and flat Earth came up, and the moon landings came up also. And Alex was really pressing him about how it's a hoax and fake, and Tim got pretty upset. Like he was visibly unhappy that it was being brought up. And so he's still in that globe mindset. But even if he ever did agree with flat Earth, I highly doubt he would mention it publicly. because of his channel and because of what he does.
Yeah, I was only relating that point based on what he understand and based on like who's really speaking word salad at this point, because I'm pretty sure you familiar with Tim Pool. He do tell people to elaborate on the questions, not that he don't understand it. It's because he do understand what the person point that they're making, but he want the audience to follow to follow the interviewer a little bit. That's only if he have an understanding of what you're talking about. But you notice when the other guy's talking, he don't do that. He just basically just let the guy talk, and it's like he don't know where to come in at. He just let him talk and just move on the conversation with someone else.
Yeah, I agree with that. Most of this topic is over his head. He hasn't studied it at all.
Right.
And
he just don't understand what the guy's talking about because he's scattergunning multiple points, so he don't know where to lead the conversation to. You can't ask him to elaborate about one thing. Like he can't ask him to elaborate about the sun being the biggest in the solar system and the attractive mass, but then in the very next sentence he start talking about a whole nother galaxy somewhere just to sound smart,
Right.
So it's like I can't ask you to elaborate about anything because I don't even know where you're going. What's your next point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if only we could find a show like this where they could just give Austin some uninterrupted time to just explain, to just talk, because they're always the moment he starts making salient points, both Syngenis and then this Ferguson guy both start trying to trip up Austin.
But that's Scott for you. That's what I was saying. That's Astronomy Live. He is full out blown anti-flat earther. I've had some dealings with him myself, so I do know how he interacts. That's what I say. He will stop Austin because he's going to know because he is able to also read a conversation. If Austin's going to get to something he doesn't like, he's going to try to stop him. He doesn't want the information to get out there.
Right.
Syngenis is more, I don't know. I don't really know him that much. I've seen him once debate Pitch Lumen, Nathan Erickson, before. And he was sort of having old 2015 arguments as normal. So it's weird to see him on here, but I do like the approach he's taking so far. He hasn't really attacked anything yet, but he does get triggered because I did see that with Nathan as well. They do kind of get red in their eyes. They get angry as soon as somebody doesn't want to accept what they say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As fact. But I call that globe syndrome. As soon as somebody doesn't accept what they believe, then they just see red.
Yeah, that's me getting another ad now. 2 in a row.
And I've paused. Yeah. No, it's still showing pause for 1 minute and 15 seconds still to go. I want to see if I can pause again as soon as it stops.
It's weird.
I don't know why.
It's maybe my side for some reason. I don't know, but it's two ads together.
I don't know why, guys. I'm sorry.
I don't know if anybody else is getting it. It's maybe something to do with me. I don't know.
I've not had it.
I think it has something to do with Rumble, maybe, because we've been going on and up there all day.
Let me put on my ad blocker anyway, just in case.
They can see us going in and out of Rumble.
Sorry, because I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, but let's carry on with the stream, see what they have to go, because you're only 11 minutes in.
Pause it, no sex.
The axis of evil is a term given to one of those directions that is aligned almost exactly with our ecliptic plane, 23.5 degrees. Okay, so if you're supposed to be out there in the remote recesses of space, like the Big Bangers think, the Earth is just out there with everybody else. It has no significance, no speciality. How is this radiation aligned with the Earth-Sun ecliptic plane?
You know what's interesting about that sun ecliptic plane is saying with 23 degrees, it equals to 666.
When it's just...
But again, my point is the alignment is not that exact. The quadrupole is...
It's enough for the scientists to say this is something.
They called it evil. Let's make sure everyone understands it. So in the globe model, they say the Earth is tilted at 23.4 degrees. So
and then but real quick, sorry, Austin's about to go on a very good rant, and we need to let him talk. But you say that tilt, Tim, 23.4 degrees. Subtract that from 100. What is that?
90.
Excuse me, from 90 degrees. What is that?
23.4 66.6.
There we hit it. Hit on the nail. There we go. Nice one.
666. And then how fast
Is
the
he
Earth
figuring it
orbiting
out?
The sun on
He's figuring it out now. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can stop it again. Okay, paused it again for 10 minutes. Okay.
66,600 per hour.
Is that true?
That is true.
That's not, he says yes.
That's true. And tell him, is that not
in
true?
the
Is it not going
heliocentric
60?
model.
So Earth's orbital velocity is constantly changing. There's
Did
no
he
one
just
exact
check
value. If you
Witz's
look
glory
at it,
there, though?
He did actually.
He nicked it for himself.
He did. Well, he's about to go around.
Alex Stein kind of did that to Whitsitt, but
Yeah.
it's Whitsitt turn to talk. Now he feels he needs to stop Whitsitt before he say what Whitsitt. Yeah,
he knew what Witzer was going to say, but I think he got it. But the thing that's bothering me now is Witzer was supposed to talk, and now Scott starts talking again.
right. This Whitsitt's poisoning the well. Yeah.
What's the average of it?
average.
well, I mean that's about the average, but
That's exactly the average.
That proves that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, there you
Exactly
go.
the average. Wait, this is
even the
a joke.
23.4, that's not exact either, and it's constantly changing. We actually have to calculate this. Anytime we do coordinate conversions to ecliptic coordinates, we have to take the current obliquity of the ecliptic. The tilt of the Earth is constantly changing slightly.
Yeah, he's right.
But you're just saying that, right? Like this is the thing. This is what always happens. You just people just beg the question and assert the model, and then equate that to being true.
But I measure.
So
That's the
you
beauty.
didn't measure the Earth being tilted. What
Yeah,
you
I did.
What you
I
did
did,
was
actually.
you looked at the sun. You reified.
How did he wait? How did he measure the Earth being tilted?
That's what I was wondering. That's my question.
He's actually contradicting himself because earlier he said general relativity. You wouldn't know which reference frame you're in. So if you don't know which reference frame you're in, you're not going to be able to measure your actual tilt, because to measure your axial tilt, you'll have to be in space.
Yeah, it's funny that the Scott Ferguson guy, he does what all these Globers do, where they, instead of just admitting what is actually taught about the model, they always try to give it some sense of nuance to where, oh, it's not exactly like that. It's a little bit more like this. But from a bird's eye perspective, it's exactly like that. Like, this is what's been published about your model. This is what you guys continue to repeat over the years. This is the consistent calculation that you have to use within your model. But yet, every time it's actually brought up, they want to dance around it as if it's not. Well, it's not truly accurate. It's more this or that. And you're like, bro, like what's the point? It seems like all of it just seems like massive amounts of deflecting and obfuscation, as opposed to them just saying, hey, here's our model, we stick by it. It's really weird to me.
Exactly. But it's
one more question I got for you. What model are you talking about? That's what I want to
Well,
know.
Scott Ferguson is arguing for the heliocentric model. He's a Glober. The guy with the beard and the puffy hair.
Yeah, I want him to show me his model. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I mean, like in the big scale, they'll call it the helio model. They call it the globe. They believe there's vast amounts of pressureless space that's with orbs floating between each other, held together by unseen gravity and dark matter. And so that is the model they hold to as a big bird's eye view. But when you start pressing them on a specific aspect of that model and how to verify it, that's when they always suddenly like the philosophy comes out. And then every scientist turns into a philosopher who has a different interpretation of what the words truly mean versus the established, published literature on the topic.
Yeah, and it's the same as when I mentioned to Birdman that the heliocentric model was based on a pagan Babylonian occult belief system. And he gets very triggered with that and then starts saying, we the ones that have the belief system. We the ones that are kooky lunatics. Just because he can't accept that the heliocentric belief system it's a pagan belief. It's literally Babylonian worship. A worship system that they don't understand. And I think if you had to explain it to an honest person about it, they would go and think about it more thoroughly and see, whoa, yeah, something's not right here. Because there is so much based on its foundation that is occultism. And
They can't tell you that, can they? They can't tell you we're in a cult. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and par for the course in the Babylonian Empire was this concept, both from India to Egypt and Alexandria up to Athens and Greece, is this concept of philosophy, and the different schools of thought argue with each other all the time. This is why it's considered pantheism, or not pantheism, but polytheism, where they have multiple gods who have different descriptive aspects of those gods, but they're all the central core concepts of what the gods do and how they're to be reverenced and revered together was accepted by all those cultures. They just had different attaches. They had different ways they dressed up their head gods, but they all had the same essential properties. And in the marketplaces of Athens, as we see from Acts 17, it was full of philosophers. And specifically in that day when Paul was going through, was Epicurean and Stoic philosophers. But this is a wide-standing practice for the philosophers in the days of Greece. Was they would just hang out at the foot of the statue of Athena and argue different thoughts all day long. But yet they still always reverted back to the backdrop of, well, we worship Athena and Zeus. Those are the core ideas, and what they say goes. Even if Zeus contradicts himself from century to century, we still worship Zeus, and whatever he says we need to believe. And we can argue with each other in our schools of philosophy about the details all day long, but we're all still a part of this central theism of worshiping Zeus and Athena. So that's what I feel happens within this as well. As long as you claim heliocentrism, you can bring a different theory and say, well, maybe it's not 96% dark matter. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe there's a 12th dimension, and we need to add that to string theory. And maybe that's, and they just get accepted. It just becomes this big hodgepodge amalgamation of philosophy that's never proven scientifically.
Well, Sean, that's the thing. The heliocentric belief system is, I would say, the king of God of the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they find an issue, they create something to fill that gap.
Yeah.
And assumed your model. You assumed the causation of the ecliptic plane was actually the Earth tilted. That's what you did. So what we see, so I want the audience to understand, we see the sun move in a certain path. They're claiming it looks tilted because the Earth is tilted and it's an illusion. They also claim that what's called the analemma, so the sun does this extended figure eight that isn't perfectly symmetrical if you time lapse it throughout the year. They say that's because we're moving, and it makes it look like the sun is moving. So obviously, just in very simple terms, we're saying, oh, the sun is moving. That's why we see the sun moving. You're claiming it's an illusion. So you actually have the burden of proof just on its face, right? What always happens is...
But Austin...
That is true. That is true, because what we observe is not what they say. But yet they want to claim it's fact.
That's it. Baseless assertions.
Real quick. Sorry, just put a pin in it. I'm curious, if you have a geocentric view, why is the sun doing a figure eight?
Well, the analemma is complicated. I mean, I do cover it in the book here, but there is a certain, and the analemma actually moves itself by a few degrees.
What is that?
It's
that's the figure eight.
How the sun is going to, it moves daily, okay, and yearly. There's two different movements of the sun. The analemma is going to go by the yearly movement, okay? So that's why it makes a complete figure eight. You get the same thing when they put satellites up over the Earth.
But yeah, on a flat Earth, it's easy. The sun moves up and down in its circle, and that's what is able to give analemma.
Yeah.
On a geocentric globe, it's a bit more complicated, as you're saying, because according to the globe model, the sun doesn't really move that much away, closer and further. With the heliocentric model, it has tilt to be able to give it that analemma effect. So this is where the geocentric globe falls a bit flat.
Yeah, it's worse off, isn't it, after all options to explain analemma.
So he has to make. That's why he says he explains in his book, and it's a bit more difficult to explain.
Yeah, because it's a little bit more difficult because, for geocentric globe, because if the sun is moving in the figure 8, it will be a little bit more difficult because it don't have to spin nor the tilt. That's what they're saying. So I could see that. That's why he said it was tricky. So Is he now? I mean, this should be a aha moment for him, because it should be like, yeah, it don't really work if it's a globe and it's geocentric. This won't, but the flat Earth really don't have a problem here. So this should be like, okay, here's another point for if you believe that the Earth is horizontal or flat,
Yeah.
because they don't have this problem.
Exactly.
They make a figure eight. You can make them make a figure eight. You can make them make a circle. You can make them do anything depending on how fast you make the satellite move and the tilt that you want it to have along the equator. Okay. So the sun has a certain tilt, 23.4 degrees, and it's going to go longer in the north than it does in the south. So you're going to get a figure eight that's going to.
Did you say the sun has a tilt? What will it matter if the sun has the tilt if you're on a geocentric globe? Because the sun can tilt like it wants. It's supposed to be a sphere. It won't change to make it wobble up or down to make a figure eight.
I would even discern whether the sun's got a tilt or not. Anyway.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If I've got let me actually get a ball quickly.
Don't you have to have a reference point?
When you look at the figure eight, the Abamina is in the sky and is looked at as the sky as being referenced horizontal. So there's already a problem for the globe anyway.
Absolutely. You have to have a plane to
Even
do
if
that
it's spinning, it's a problem for the globe.
Yeah. Let's, for instance, take this, okay? What helps here is it's got a blue and a red, but let's just say it doesn't. It's just one color. Now this is the sun and we're observing the sun. How are you going to know there's a tilt to it? You can't, because it's just a sphere. Doesn't matter how it's turned. You're not going to know there's a tilt to it. Because the radius will stay exactly the same away from us. So that doesn't really make sense what he's trying to explain.
Yeah, the only way you can know it's a tilt is if you own the sun and and you're a certain way on the sphere. It's just the position that you are on the sphere. That's how you know it's a tilt or it isn't. You can't like just take a picture or look at it with a telescope and tell whether or not the sun is tilted unless you own it in some way. I don't know where he's going with that. I don't even know if geocentrics actually claim that far as maybe this is something he came up with. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I say. He says in his book, he does explain it. It's quite complicated. And I think, I might have to try and look this up, what he tried to explain with it, because there should be information out there. I think it'll be interesting to see what his rebuttal to that is.
Absolutely.
To represent the different speed.
Like the analemma itself, it has elongated in the south, has elongated orbit, right? Like it goes further.
Yeah, it's wide in the south and small in the north.
So
like with the flat Earth, it just means it's taking a longer path in the south than it takes in the north, which shows true if it's a flat Earth.
That's what I mean.
I don't think RWBN's making any sense. I think he might be a bot.
Talking shop.
Speeds of the sun compared to where the Earth is, and it's complicated. But
my point is simply whether you believe that the Earth is going around the sun or the sun is going around the Earth, you can still measure that. You can still measure that.
Yeah.
Of course, it's an observation. You're assuming the cause of the observation is the Earth is moving.
But you said
it's even worse though. Like, no, let's just use it like really simple terms. Occam's razor. So if you have you have two different explanations for the same cause or phenomena, right? You're going to go with the simplest one that requires least amount of assumptions if they're both viable. And then if you're going to claim that there's something else that requires more assumptions, you got to verify it. It's actually way worse than this though. It's been scientifically proven with empirical measurement that the Earth is not moving, and we've actually shown that the interferometry correlates to periodicity of the sun, meaning that the solar motion, how light travels and interferes with itself, changes based on the time of year. So it is empirically proven that the Earth is not moving. So not only do we not just grant it to you, right? Because you're just saying the model as if it's true.
Yeah, I think he understands that. And I want to
No, he doesn't.
No, he don't. He don't understand that. He just argued against it, Rob. I mean, whatever your name is. But yeah, I like how Wisted caught himself and he said it's empirically proven through measurement instead of just saying science, playing the science game with that guy. I like how he did that. But no, he don't understand that, Rob.
So Dr. Sangenis does this himself. He commits this fallacy himself later when he just affirms the space model as if it's true with no proof around it to support his geocentric view. And he's doing this to challenge Whitsitt at some point. And it's just funny to see everybody.
But didn't Whitsitt say, I think Whitsitt said in the same, when they was talking, Whitsitt said, okay, we can keep talking about Nadia as much as you like. I like, Nadia. And they all got a little angry, so Whitsitt continue on talking about it. But he like, we can keep talking about Nadia as much as you like, but let's get to the proof now.
Yeah, but I think Sangenis is in a bit of he knows he's in a bit of pickle here because he's got to agree with Whitsitt on the geocentric part, but he's got to agree with Scott on the glow part. So he's kind of in a catch-22 issue here where he's got to merge the two together.
Right, he got two opponents.
Yeah, so he's trying to make sense of it all because he's got to agree with one side and got to agree with the other side as well.
Right.
He's put himself in a bit of a corner there.
So Dr. Sangenis, I've been trying to set up a debate with him for like a year now with Donnie at Standing for Truth. And Donnie thought it was going to happen like last February, but he bailed and said that Dr. Sangenis said, well, I'm tired of talking about biblical cosmology for a while. And then he shows up. He did a cosmology debate like 2 months ago, and here he is on Temple yesterday talking about this whole concept. And so anyway, it's just funny that because I wanted to actually debate on the scriptures and not not all the pseudoscience.
But that's the thing as well. I also want to debate him on scripture. But have you not realized, Sean, when we want to actually debate anybody on biblical cosmology, just specifically just on scripture alone, they run for the hills.
Yeah.
They don't want you to do scripture, but they want to claim it's scriptural.
Now, I'm pretty sure Sangenis is a Catholic, right?
Isn't he Orthodox?
I thought he was actually an affirming Catholic.
Oh, I thought he's Orthodox. So I don't know.
He looks like a Catholic to me.
But it's weird because it's a weird thing when you want to discuss biblical cosmology, you want to stick to the Bible. I mean, that's what biblical cosmology is. It's scriptural. Yeah. Now, why don't they just want to engage scripturally for that?
Yeah, should be simple, right? They do that in other things, other topics in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Salted Sea doesn't chat. Insulted.
Yeah. Woohoo, good see, man.
Call from where you left off with general relativity and then go back to his point, if you don't mind. It might take me a couple minutes, but so you admit with general relativity that the sun can go around the earth or the earth can go around the sun, right?
You can describe it that way.
Well, it has to be real for you to describe it that way. I mean, in other words, you just can't say it's possible. I mean, we could have one of those scenarios as the true system, correct?
Razor.
No.
Why?
You can't.
Occam's razor. That's what also Wizard brought up. Do you have one or the other scenario? What does Occam's razor say? One with least assumption. Therefore, we observe the sun moving. Therefore, it's the sun not moving.
Works for me.
Sorry. Therefore, it's the sun moving because we observe the sun moving.
Yeah, I would like to hear his
either
explanation.
scenario because.
Yeah. But he just said no. There is because Sangenis asked him, "Is there only those? Those are the two options. We either see it moving or we don't."
Yeah,
and
he gave him a true dichotomy, and he said no. So, is he going to come with a third option? I mean, so.
What's the third option? It's usually that they have one.
I know what the third option is: blindness.
Yeah, he said no, so he should be having if he respond with anything other than a third option. I mean,
yeah. Well, Reggie, the third option is blindness.
That's it. Because it doesn't have a preferred frame of reference.
What's it?
Meaning general relativity. General relativity doesn't allow you to have.
Okay, but here's the point.
False. That's false. General relativity gives you a frame of reference to give you the outcome. That's what general relativity is about. It gives you both frames.
Yeah, it's directly about a frame of reference.
Yeah.
It's about the reference frames. That's what.
I was surprised Witsit didn't call him this.
I mean, Witsit keep getting interrupted, so I can't blame him. But
wow,
we both
Scott,
was wrong. Flat.
I just gotta say, I don't think Scott should have been there.
No, definitely not.
Definitely outclassed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's. I'm glad McToon wasn't there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll rather take him over McToon. That's fine.
Yeah.
But
Nobody would have been able to talk.
McToon would have been calling Tim a liar by the end of the show.
Yeah, McToon would have like made demands. You will let me talk.
At least maybe if we can get McToon to a live event, we can see if he shows up in a government vehicle.
Yeah. But
I'm pretty sure he works for a 3-letter agency.
You think he's got a government vehicle? That'd be funny.
I think he works for a 3-letter agency.
I didn't see the Cookie Monster.
I've been saying this for years, and I still
when did the Cookie Monster come in?
I do think he has government ties.
The Cookie Monster, yeah, of course.
What's it, Brian?
He's CIA.
Okay.
Trying to make before. Whereas Newton would only allow a heliocentric system, general relativity allows both a geocentric and a heliocentric system. So with the medieval science of Newton, we're never going to get a geocentric system. But with Einstein and Mach, we're going to get it as a possibility. So then it's just a matter of determining which one's the correct one.
No, it doesn't work that way, because to suggest that there is a correct one would be to suggest that there is an absolute reference frame. You just got
look, we see this. We see the stars and the
I
sun
don't
go
agree
around.
with that either. He says so. If you choose a reference frame, that means there is a direct. One of them have to be true. You can't just throw them both out.
I don't think he know what dichotomy means. Like,
no,
one of them have to be true.
Yes.
So
there is no in between.
Like I said, Scott represents the ultimate.
And what do he
There's
mean?
never an absolute. It's all malleable.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to say, like, what do he mean that there is no absolute reference frame? Is he like a solidist or something?
Let me ask you if there's no absolute reference frame. Us sitting here observing the sun moving, that's an absolute reference frame. We're observing. You cannot observe something without a reference frame.
Yeah, but you've got to be at a point to look at it.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, I don't. Where is he going with that? Oh, he's just saying.
He's lost in space.
He just wants the deniability. It seems like he just wants to be able to weasel his way out of picking between the two options, or picking between the dichotomy. Like,
but you see, this is the thing. His words are catching up to him now. That's why I said earlier, he just wanted to say a whole bunch of things to sound smart. Now those words are catching up to him because they don't fit with the argument they're making.
Right.
So now he's doing plausible deniability because he has no option other than to just backtrack.
Yeah, because he's the one that brought
he
up.
did it to himself, didn't he? Didn't he do it to himself though? He really did.
Yeah, because he's the one that brought he brought this point up, and now he's backtracking on it by saying that there is no absolute reference frame. Now that they're trying to hold him to a true dichotomy. Now that they're trying to hold him to it, which one is it? Because if we prove this one, that means we have to. That means this one is disproven because both things cannot be true in reality in the same situation. It's actual something behind logic with that. I think is what is it Flash? Both things cannot be true in the same parts of reality. Appeal to non-contradiction.
Well, it's a law of non-contradiction. You can't have both a true and untrue, both the same.
Yeah, in reality. So one thing has to be true. That means this one is disproven. So
it's like having a wet dry, right?
To say that it's not absolute, that's you just saying like, oh, well, they both can be true and they both could be lies. Like that's just
it's the same as saying, look, I got two hands. I got a right hand and I got a left hand. This cannot be the right hand and the left hand at the same time, as this can't be the right and left hand at the same time. You can only have one or the other.
But the big problem is it's thrown under the bus any way of knowing that anything's moving.
Mm-hmm. What's up, Janus?
Right. And
Hello, everyone. How are you
Good
guys?
to see you, man.
Hey, now wait a minute. Doesn't string theory teach that between the different quantumly entangled frames of reality that they share information?
Yes.
So, and they also teach that the different realities will have different outcomes based on variances. So, I mean, this works perfectly within that it does throw out the law of non-contradiction, and it works perfectly within this malleable framework of, well, it could be true and it could be not be true. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. The whole point of it is that it's contradictory.
But I think I can guarantee Scott doesn't assign himself to string theory anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cat in a box, at the same time alive and dead, unless you open the box.
Mm-hmm.
Notice every day, right? One of them has to be correct. Either the Earth is moving or the sun is moving around the Earth.
From a general relativistic point of view, you don't have any particular reference frame. You can't make an absolute
You're
statement.
basically arguing solipsism. You're saying there's no objective truth at this point.
Oh,
According
wow.
to
He came
general
up with the
relativity,
same
there is
thing.
no absolute reference
General
frame.
Uh-huh. Wow. He's just saying nuh-uh, in other words, guys.
Yeah. I
Maybe
didn't even
doesn't
know
make
what to
philosophical
say.
claims about
Disregard
objective truth.
the argument. There is no objective truth. Objective truth is, for example, that everyone will die. That's objective
Yes.
truth. So, if he says there is none, he's lying.
Exactly.
So this makes me think that
But from
this
our
Scott guy is just a contrarian, because he should just be able to stick to the globe model and argue for that, but he keeps trying to sound smarter than that in some weird way.
It seems like he is. Right,
because what they do, they always
the
move
globe
water
model have a reference
always.
frame that they reference. I mean, the globe model have that. So he's not even arguing from trying to defend the globe at this point, or the globe spinning at this point, because in order for you to prove that, you would have to prove an absolute reference frame, which would be the globe spinning non-inertial, and then you have to prove that the sun is staying still or going around the sun. So those are two reference frames that is absolute. That's something that you observe in reality. But for him to say that it's not absolute and general relativity is not relevant to that, you just basically throwing Coriolis effect away, you throwing general relativity away, and you throwing away your whole globe spinning argument away.
But he does realize though that general relativity is just a thought experiment.
Right. So maybe
It's
he's
not-
going there.
No,
yeah.
he don't know. He don't believe that though, does he?
Right, it's getting kind of confusing now.
Yeah, so he's basing his whole reality on someone's thought experiment.
Somebody just mentioned that the Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They say it's both. Can't be both.
Nope.
Can't be.
You said it before. You can't be pregnant and not pregnant at the same time.
Exactly,
There we go.
Exactly.
But this is the same issue they have with gravity. They claim gravity causes gravity. And when you tell them you're claiming this, they say, no, that's not what they're saying, when they literally say that.
Yeah.
It's called circular reasoning. They are defining gravity with gravity. You can't do that.
No.
Pure
No.
definition
And
of circular
now
reasoning.
what Scott is doing is he's defining Earth rotating, a globe Earth rotating by not having a reference frame.
Yeah.
Circular reasoning, exactly.
It's nuts.
It's insane.
It's contradictory.
At the very reference frame that he brought up.
He's throwing away. Yeah.
Perspective, you're saying that the reference point of how we see the stars and everything moving is the sun is the reference point. We are going around it. That's how we perceive the universe.
That is a useful reference frame in a lot of circumstances. There are some reference frames, like if I'm measuring the motion of a satellite, the first reference frame I'm using is actually one that has my telescope at the center of the universe.
Yeah. Kinematics. Like Austin's probably going to bring up now too. And that's exactly. So you got a reference frame, which you just said you can't have.
But why? How his reference can be sun, which he didn't prove that he is standing still?
But that's the point. He just
I know.
he just went against his own argument. He contradicted himself because he said you can't have a reference frame. Now he's made his own reference frame. So the telescope being the reference, we are the reference seeing the sun move.
Yeah, this is.
Roger Edel, thank you for $2 super chat. It says you and reference games are ruined, Elam. Thank you, Simon and Dan. Thank you, Roger. You rock. Oh man.
Wow.
And if I'm predicting a solar eclipse and predicting the path of a solar eclipse, I actually use the moon as the center of the universe. So I'm using a selenocentric reference frame. But that doesn't mean I believe that the moon literally is the center of the universe.
Of course.
That's also
Yeah, but you also can't observe from the moon.
Yeah, like you don't have a telescope there.
I'm not saying, but I'm taking that under consideration. That's what he's saying.
Wow.
But he did establish a reference frame with the telescope being in the center wherever he's at. So it is absolute.
But that's the thing.
So-
That's what the heliocentric model detects is they require the barycenter to be the reference.
Right.
The reference. So you can easily just take that and make the Earth that reference, like with Sangenis does for his globe geocentrics, or what we do as flat earthers for flat Earth. We have the reference of where we are doing the observation. We see everything move around us. This is a true dichotomy. It either is moving around us or we're moving around it. There is no in between. What Scott's saying is, well, I believe we don't know, we can't really prove which reference frame we are, so he's blind because he doesn't see. Therefore, it's neither.
Stupid.
And then wants to pretend he's a telescope in middle of the universe.
Exactly. And then when he wants to agree, then wants to say it, we are moving around the sun, then he can have a reference. It's selective deduction.
so incorrect, actually. When we map out eclipses, we use ECEFs. We do not use we map out the eclipses with an Earth-centered, Earth-fixed system. Satellites use Earth-centered, Earth-fixed system. You have to actually transform it to an ECI.
But his point...
Austin, that's not what I've done, though. You're talking about maybe something someone else has done. I've personally predicted the path of total solar eclipses, and I've done it using a selenocentric reference frame. I've published this on my channel.
Well, you could use an Earth-centered reference frame, too.
Uh-huh.
And that's what NASA
that's
actually
your point.
does. That's what NASA actually does.
Okay, so let's going to go back to the same.
Wait, Whitsitt just literally told you that. That's what the ECI and ECF differences are. It's two different references.
Right. And then he just repeated right after Whitsitt as if he was saying something different.
So, no, you're wrong, but let me say the same thing you just said. Insanity. But yeah, I love how Sangenis and Scott are the ones going at it. The two guys that's supposed to be on the same side.
Right.
Same point is, it doesn't matter what reference frame you use. You see a reality when you look into the sky that something's going around something.
Do you agree?
You can't have them both going around each other.
Why not? You can. I mean, general relativity says you can define whatever reference frame you want, and like I said,
yeah, but we
on the
deal with the reality.
Define it as the center of the telescope. Sometimes it's useful to define it as the solar system barycenter.
Well, we understand what you're saying.
Real quick.
It can be either way.
Isn't it in the conventional model that everything is sort of going around each other? That two bodies impose gravitational pull on each
that's
other?
how Newton got to the
Yeah, that's why they have the three-body problem. They're getting into that. Nice.
Heliocentric version. He said that there's a center of mass between the sun and the earth.
Yeah.
But since the sun is bigger, the center of mass is going to be more inside the sun than it would ever be to the earth.
And so, but the earth does pull on the sun. It's just negligible.
Negligible. Yeah. So, but the fact is, you can have that system where the earth is going around the sun, okay, or to explain what we see in the sky, the sun and the stars can be moving around a central earth. And general relativity allows that. His thing is like, well, it doesn't make any difference what general relativity allows. It can't pinpoint what the actual thing is. Well, I agree. I agree. The fact is that it allows it. So we can't base our decision on what Newton said.
What you should have said, Sangenis, is where Occam's razor comes in. It's as simple as that. Just said Occam's razor, like Whitsitt said before, and this argument will be over.
Well, both Tim just invoked Newton's version of gravity, and then Sangenis affirmed it while they're talking about relativity.
Exactly.
He just talked about the Earth pulling on the sun being negligible, which is based off mass. But it makes no sense because they're talking about relativity. Like it just, they don't even hear themselves.
It's not the same. It's
Yeah,
not
they
the
don't
same.
even understand that they're talking about mass attracting mass. If you're talking about the sun being bigger, and therefore the rest of the planets or whatever's in that sky, that's a mass attracting mass. So that's Newton's law. That's not general relativity.
That's not relativity.
So
But
they're
that's the
confusing
thing,
the audience right now.
But that's the thing. They always want to chop and change together because they are still looking at it as a force. But yeah, you're correct. They totally had a category over there.
Yeah, because it's now looked at as a pseudo force. So
Mhm.
I don't. Yeah, but I thought he knew about a lot of this
But
though. I think that's a lot of
you
his
do know,
argument.
but you do know the the geocentric globe doesn't work with general relativity because according to the general relativity space blanket that warps, the mass that is larger divots the space time more, so that means the Earth will be moving towards the sun. Therefore, it can't be geocentric. So, if he had to choose general relativity, he's actually debunking his own globe for geocentrism. Again,
With
another
all
issue the globe geocentrists have.
this, just not trying to be disrespectful to these people, but this is just another prime example of people with PhDs does not mean you know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
The process, the system for how you get a PhD, it's just reaffirming presuppositions. It does not mean you can actually critically think that you know what you're talking about.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly that.
Because that's what everybody does today.
But isn't the simplest argument, I suppose, is that when you map out the pattern of planets in a geocentric model, they're kind of erratic? And
no, they're not. That's what they make it look like. In the Tychonic model, they're all going around the sun, same as they're doing in the heliocentric system. The only difference is the sun's going around the Earth at the same time it carries the planets in the Tychonic geocentric system.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple system. As a matter of fact, the one that's complicated is the heliocentric system.
Let me try. Are you saying that the sun does move around the Earth and the planets are being pulled on by the sun as well?
That's right. That's right. So it's almost like a mirror image of the Copernican system, except that the sun's going around the Earth.
But so real quick, sorry, I'm trying to understand this.
He does know that goes against, well, like I just said, general relativity. Because the mass would be the sun would have the bigger mass.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the sun would attract Earth. That's it. And like a big boom.
It's silly.
The sun would attract the Earth to move around it, not the other way around.
Exactly.
It goes against all known physics. I mean, it's like taking a bowling ball and a golf ball on a trampoline and expecting the bowling ball, the golf ball, to have the bowling ball roll to it. That's what Sangenis is fighting for.
So the sun has pull on the planets.
Yeah.
And do you believe the sun then is not as massive? It's smaller?
No, same sun in both systems.
But is it
what
just...
we have now is another force involved because the universe is rotating.
Yeah.
And that's going to cause centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler forces on the solar system, and it's going to make that
What is
sun
evidence
go
of
in
that? Evidence of
complete
that?
tone.
So that's the ether now. That's his ether.
This guy's worse than a glober. I'm telling you now.
That's what Rob Skiba came to the same conclusion when he debated Dr. Sangenis.
Yeah.
They always operate on the presumption and assumption. We don't evidence. Without an evidence. Why? I just always ask why.
Because you don't sound smart unless you bring up a bunch of stuff you can't prove.
Right.
But that's bad. I mean, yeah, he's been showing more issues for his geocentric globe tonight than what the heliocentric globe has. This is what the Flat Earth shows different. The Flat Earth doesn't sit with these issues that they have because of their belief in gravity.
And none of these guys have mentioned, they keep using general relativity. None of them have actually mentioned it's a theory. and there are
Nope.
competing theories, and it's
No.
not settled fact.
Exactly. We're just talking.
Yeah, it's just a theory based on a thought experiment. It's not actual science, although they want to claim it's actual science for everything.
But there's a see improvement. They're using theory instead of hypothesis, because the worst is even if they go by the hypothesis. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would even say at a larger level, an unspoken level, it's an appeal to authority, because they're invoking Einstein as if he's someone smart that people should listen to, using his theory but not proving his theory.
Exactly. Don't question the authority.
Yeah.
Right. They had to validate his theory in order for them to use it as a statement of fact.
Meanwhile, they just ignore. I think Austin's the only one that brings up Tesla. So meanwhile, they ignore Tesla, who thought Einstein was a hack.
Yeah. And by the way, I wonder if they even think about all the scientists that were against Einstein. There were like 100 scientists that didn't agree with Einstein.
But why he was promoted?
But yeah, Einstein was promoted.
You know why he was promoted? Man in funny heart.
Mm-hmm. Oh, propaganda, man. Just propaganda.
By the forces of the rotating universe around a fixed Earth.
And so just to clarify, you're saying the Earth is then fixed. It cannot be moved.
Right.
Right. Like let's
doesn't
make
rotate.
sure.
Well, hold on. I want to ask Robert a question.
Wait, there's more than just you two talking, dude. There's like Witt's also there, and Alex also there.
I mean, he's even cutting off Tim.
Yeah.
Tim is trying to.
It's like this guy, Scott wants to make such a great impression that he's smart on there that is almost trying to take over the show. But the guy's literally been shown, he's showing he's a fool. I'm sorry to say, but he's not really making a great impression other than showing he's talking gobbledygook.
I guess he feels like he's losing a little bit. So he feels like, it seems like these guys, they feel like the more I talk, the more I'm winning in this debate. If I can keep you from talking and I'm keep on talking, I'm winning. Instead of just listen and respond and then go back to listening again.
Yeah, I agree with that. Did you notice his stickers on his laptop?
Yeah, we spoke about it when he came in.
Okay. Did you notice as well triangle, which is 60 degrees, 666?
Okay.
Yeah, it's in your face.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, imagine how his room looks if his laptop looks like that.
Because I'm curious about this. Let's say that you took a SpaceX Starship and you went to Mars and you had a family and your family grew up on Mars. How would they perceive the universe? Would they perceive the sun going around Mars instead?
They're going to see it from
talking
the Mars
about
point of
Nadia.
view. And I have no problem with that. The question is that the real system? You can go on Pluto and live if you want, and you're going to see everything revolve around Pluto.
Right.
That's not the issue here.
So that drives my
Talking about
question.
Nadia.
Then, what is your evidence that it is Earth, as opposed to if you grew up on Mars, you would feel like it was Mars?
But wait, Dr. Singenis, wait a minute. You wouldn't see everything revolve around Pluto.
No, he wouldn't.
Again, he doesn't. I don't even think he's. Yeah, I don't know what Dr. Singenis is doing here.
It's quite crazy. Think of it as looped links. Think of a gear structure. Okay,
You would see the analemma of all the planets if you're on Mars.
exactly. You'll see a total different movement if you jumped to a different reference. So it won't be as he puts it. That's why I say I don't think both of these guys understand what they're actually talking about.
Just another wonderful example of how flat earthers know the heliocentric model better than globers.
Yeah, but you can see the cogs turning in the head while they're talking. It's almost like they figuring it out while they're arguing.
Instead of them knowing what they're talking about, like
Yeah. But because they got so much pride, they are not able to just say, "Yeah, I'm wrong."
And they have invested a lot of time in the globe model, so that's why they cling to it.
Yeah. But it's funny. The flat earthers aren't even saying anything now, and
See, this would be a moment where Scott should have went after Dr. Sangenis right here to say, no, you wouldn't see the same reference. You wouldn't see the same things on Pluto. You don't know what you're talking about, geocentrists. You know what I mean? But he's not. They're trying to like somehow unify so they can fight against Austin.
Right.
Exactly.
But you know what? All Austin got to say is like, okay, you guys done talking about Nadia right now. Let's get back to Earth, where we all live.
Okay,
but neither one of you going to Mars. Like, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah, but exactly. But you see what's funny about this? The flat Earth is not even talking, and the globe's losing. That's how bad it is.
Self-plowing.
Yeah. Wow.
On physical tests on the Earth.
That's where Austin comes in.
Yeah,
that's where I was going to go next.
Proven it. We have Airy's failure, stellar aberration. It doesn't change when you introduce an additional medium. We have Michelson-Morley, and we can get into all these. But interferometry, that was right. Then Michelson-Person matched the sidereal rotation. I'm not actually trying to scattergun. I want to make sure that the audience is following here. So we have Newton. You have the idea that the sun's really huge. It has the most gravity. The planets move around it, so it's logical that the Earth would also move around.
So Austin, let me ask you a question.
Just a second. So then Mark came along and said, "Wait,
why is he wanting to?"
I was trying to cut in.
He just started talking. He literally just started talking.
It's a tactic.
Newton didn't even think about the rest of the universe. He thought the sun was the center of the entire universe. So when we actually take his theory even and we apply it to a rotating universe, the angular momentum of that whole universe would outweigh any effect of the sun, and the Earth could be in the center. This spills over into relativity as well. Now, I actually reject all of this. I reject the claim sizes. I don't even believe in all that. But it's misinformation. It needs to be pointed out that even in the Newtonian and Einsteinian models, the Earth could be in the center. So what we need to do is go back to Earth, look at the actual test, the empirical evidence. What does the empirical evidence show? Instead of this woo-woo, we can't know the truth, it could be anything. What does that serve us? We did tests on the Earth that proved that the Earth is not moving.
Well, let me go back to the very first test.
Can I look that up? Like what were the studies? What were the tests?
So let me go back to the first
Airy's
one.
Failure.
Airy's failure.
Airy's. How do you?
Now he's gonna try. So Airy's failure showed it didn't prove what they wanted to prove. So therefore, the Earth wasn't moving. Oh, the Earth was moving.
Yeah.
No, this is their misunderstanding of Airy's failure. How Airy's failure worked is because they took a telescope filled with water, and the path of the light was supposed to come at a certain angle. It did not happen at the angle they needed for the Earth to move, so they called it Airy's failure, because it showed the stars moving and not the Earth. But now they're saying, well, it's a failed attempt, so therefore it doesn't show that the stars are moving. It's showing nothing.
Wow.
In other words, it wasn't set up correct, bro.
Like, what is their rebuttal to that? Is that it wasn't set up correctly?
But that's all they get. I mean, my last stream we showed the Foucault's pendulum not working. Their argument for that is it wasn't set up correct. Not it didn't show the Earth didn't rotate. No, it just wasn't set up. If it doesn't show the results they want, therefore it's not done right.
If the evidence doesn't point to their assumption, it's worse for the evidence.
It's the same as if we show Cavendish not doing what they claim. No, then it's not done right. If they don't get the outcome they want, it's not an invalidation of their claim. It's just not done right.
So our question is, why they ever make it right? Because they can't.
Mm-hmm. It's quite crazy.
How do you
AIRY? Now Wikipedia is going to do what Wikipedia does. Just so you know.
I want to ask Austin this because so Airy's failure. So for people who don't know, and I'm sure Tim's going to pull it up here in a second. But
Flat Earth Wiki. Should I do that?
Well, that's the debunk site, but it's good. It's still good. It still can be good because all of them are going to say what's not true.
What are they probably going to bring? WS up or Mattoon?
True, which is very telling. That
so Airy's failure, for those who don't know, I'm sure the audience may not be familiar with this, but it involves
Flat Earth Society. Oh my word! Why are you bringing Flat Earth Society up? Why would anybody bring the Flat Earth Society up?
Because it's controlled.
I hope he actually calls him out for this.
Telescope filled with water because light travels slower in water. Would you agree that light travels slower in water?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have a water-filled telescope. the principle behind Airy's failure, which, I mean, this experiment goes back, before Einstein.
No, really?
At that time, physicists believed in the ether, that light was entrained in this ether, and that it was called the undulating theory of light, that light was traveling through the ether, a medium. They thought it was necessary. So basically, you have...
He's going to be all over this.
Why they bring up he brought up the ether?
What's the density of the ether, guys?
They always bring more assumption and more and more and more
Uh-huh.
to fit
But
their
what's
narrative.
the density of the ether?
As I always say, they always bring some shit to move the water.
Yeah.
A water-filled telescope pointing at a star. Now, you have stellar aberration because light acts a bit like when you're running in the rain. If you accelerate, you have to tilt your umbrella down to catch the rain. And so starlight acts that way. As we go around the sun, the starlight is deflected slightly by Earth's orbital motion, at least in our model, right? And so if you point a telescope at a star, you have to correct for what we call stellar aberration, the deflection of that starlight. Now, if you fill that telescope with water, the thought was if the starlight is entrained in ether, and think of this as a medium that Earth is moving through around the solar system, then if you slow the light down...
That's false. Not the Earth is moving through. The Earth is geocentric. Therefore, it's not moving. You are contradicting your own statement.
Yep.
The ether was the propagation medium where the stars were moving through. It had nothing to do with Earth's movement. The guy's trying to mix heliocentrism and geocentrism together to make his point. So he doesn't even understand what he's talking about. They tilted the telescope because they needed to catch the light at a certain angle, which would show either the sky is moving or the ground is moving. It gave a null result for the ground moving, therefore they called it failure. This guy, I'm sorry, he's way out of his league in this debate.
Yeah, because he's explaining something. He's trying to give an analogy about the umbrella, which is kind of confusing. But it do seem like he's bringing up both situations, as far as the Earth moving and the Earth being stationary. But he's kind of convoluting it into the same thing, where it's supposed to be proving one or the other. So
why does it seem to me that he got his information from McToon?
Because remember, McToon is training these people.
Yeah,
it's called discipleship.
No, seriously, McToon is reaching out to people to teach them.
Yeah, well, everybody that always loves to debate and give rebuttals always reference the things that is on his site.
Yeah, I think this guy's doing what I see in all these debates, these Bible debates I do. I have another debate tonight, actually. And they do this every time, is I'll bring up a point. They then will repeat my words to say they address the point, but they don't actually address the point. They just tap dance. They just confiscate. They just like he's going to break Airy's fair, but not actually explain away. He's going to give his interpretation immediately, which is different from the written literature. But he's not. There's nothing he's going to say or do that's going to disprove Airy's failure as what it actually happened. But he's going to then be able to go back to his audience and say, "Oh, I addressed that."
Yeah, because he actually not really addressing it. He's honestly just explaining it in a certain way, and then he's saying according to my model, and then he go on with this analogy about what an umbrella is tilted this way, but he's not explaining the results of what is the prediction. And it seems like they replacing the word prediction, which is this is what we should see far as this test that we are running. They're replacing that with model. And so it gives them they give them like the lead way to talk about something else that's not really that relevant in order to squeeze their way out of the what's being put to them. Because what's being put to him is that, hey, listen, this test or experiment or observation has taken place. We ran this test, and these was the results that we gotten. And based upon the predictions that was that we should see this, therefore the Earth is doing this. We don't see this, therefore the test should be a failure, which it is called a failure. So therefore, the Earth apparently is not doing this because this test is proven against it. He's saying like, well, based upon our model, not the prediction, based upon our model, it's like an umbrella tilted this way, and therefore I'm gonna say a bunch of other nonsense. And it could be doing this, it could be doing that. It's like, okay, but it still is not. You're not addressing the point that the test failed.
Yeah, but you see the issue is also got Jazz. If he doesn't understand parallax, he doesn't understand that even based on their model, and I've got 2 points to this actually. The first point is if the Earth is rotating and it making the sky look like it's moving, it's not going to show one way or the other the angle of light coming in, okay? Because it's still just going to have one reference moving, as they say. The second is, didn't he just say, based on general relativity, we have no reference? So how is he making a deduction on what he's claiming the Earth is moving and not the sky if he just said there is no such thing as a reference?
But yeah, because he wanted to lead the conversation into this failure when Whitsitt brought it up. So I guess he wanted to appear that say like, oh, well, I'm smarter than Whitsitt about this. Now that Whitsitt didn't put it to him, like, well, hey, look, this is where it failed at. So therefore the Earth is stationary. He's like, oh no, Whitsitt, you actually wrong. And now I got to figure out how to tell you how you wrong.
Well,
it's like a gotcha game.
Knowing Whitsitt, he's going to be all over this.
Right.
But if it's trapped in the ether, it's still going to have lateral motion in the telescope consistent with Earth's orbital motion, and that won't be affected by the water.
Okay.
And so, no, let me finish. So what happens in reality is you have a photon of light entering the telescope, slowed down by the water, but the water doesn't have any preferential way of knowing, oh, this vector towards the bottom of the telescope, I'm going to slow it down in this direction, but I'm not going to slow it down laterally. It doesn't work like that. But it would have, at least in theory, if ether were real and it were entrained in the ether. The idea was it's still stuck in the ether. It's still going to have this lateral motion.
BS. The guy doesn't have no idea what he's talking about.
I'm sick of hearing the guy.
That's not what the ether explained in old terms was just space. It was like a medium, like you would be in a swimming pool and you have a current and it drags everything in the current. That would be what would be explained as the ether. So the light moving in space would come down to Earth, which is not in the ether anymore, would just hit the telescope at an angle. Not the ether travels with it, therefore changes the speed of light.
Yeah, honestly,
This guy is a chuff nugget.
Yeah, I always thought that the ether was in space. That's why they said it was either the ether is moving, or is it the Earth that is moving, and that is what we observe and what we see that the ether is moving, which is space. So
yeah, the reason they believed the ether to be moving was because it was built on the belief systems of the waters above. So that was always what it is, because you needed a propagation medium for the things to move.
Right. But he's not explaining that. He's explaining that the waters is when you hit the Earth atmosphere somehow. He's explaining it differently. He's kind of like he's explaining it in reverse, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Because once it hit Earth, once you detect it on Earth, it's no longer in space, no longer in the ether. So why is he talking about the lateral position of it interacting with the water, when the light interacting with the water once it hit Earth? Because once you detect it on Earth and you're saying that it's a failure, you're saying, oh, well, it's not a failure because actually they thought it was an ether and the ether is totally wrong. And I think he's just kind of saying that just to trigger Whitsitt, honestly. He's trying to trigger Whitsitt into an ether debate because y'all not even discussing that right now.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Caused by Earth's orbital motion. But because ether doesn't actually exist, and
see,
that's what
he was trying to do.
That photon was coming straight down the tube, the same as it did without.
Whoa.
This AI tool will create a stunning ebook direct from your content, whether it's a Microsoft Word document.
Thank you. But yeah, you called it, man.
And it's not even part of the discussion right now. It's about Henry's failure. That's what it's about.
Yeah, Sean had to drop. Thanks for coming, Sean. Really appreciate it, man. You rock. We got a $2 super chat from Roger Ledwell. It says, the globe is a lie upon a lie. Yes, that's the other words. In other words, the globe is a lie upon a lie. Thank you very, very much, man, for the super chat. Appreciate you. You rock. But yeah, this is sad. Since when has this become the astronomy live show?
Terrible.
Water, but the water doesn't have any preferential way of knowing, oh, this vector towards the bottom of the telescope, I'm going to slow it down in this direction, but I'm not going to slow it down laterally. It doesn't work like that. But it would have, at least in theory, if ether were real and it were entrained in the ether. The idea was it's still stuck in the ether. It's still going to have this lateral motion caused by Earth's orbital motion. But because ether doesn't actually exist, and that's what the result actually showed, that photon was coming straight down the tube, the same as it did without the water present. So
yeah, because refraction comes with angle of incidence. That's it. So the angle that the light comes and protrudes into the water would determine the refracted angle of the light. It won't prove your globe's moving or the sky's moving. It just shows the angle of light. That's it. Not a very smart guy, is he?
Not really. Not really.
$10, he don't even know that part.
Airy showed no effect on stellar aberration. The amount of stellar aberration in the water-filled telescope was the same. But the whole reason they expected it to be different was because of ether, the idea that it was going to be entrained in ether and move laterally.
He's trying to say that light is entrained because of the ether. Is it like having a trained dog? Do you train your dog so therefore it's...
He contradicting his point that reference points as far as general relativity is not absolute. So, and then he's not understanding that the ether in this aspect, he's talking about space. So he's trying to trigger Whitsitt, number one, which is going against his point when he's even discussing ether. But then he's not even speaking relevant to the topic. He's just babbling on about, oh, well, ether don't exist, so therefore I'm correct. But it's not even relevant to the experiment that they're even talking about.
Exactly. I do wish Tim Pool would have stopped him now and said get on track, but I don't think Tim Pool really knows about Airy's failure to be able to stop him.
Right. And like I said, he's so incoherent, Tim Pool can't even, like, he's so all over the place. Like, even if I was hosting or something like that, and somebody just all over the place, you know, it's kind of hard to jump in there because you don't want to seem rude and you don't want to cause audio chaos. So it's kind of hard to jump in there and be like, hey, you know, speed it up without sounding rude, you know, get to the point, because you don't really know what the point is because this guy's so incoherent. Even if you don't know about the subject, you could kind of figure out where he's trying to go and get him to elaborate. But because he's so, I hate to say it, it's word salad. I mean, I don't even think Tim even know where to come in and tell him to, hey, can you, I mean, me personally, I would have just said, okay, 30 seconds, man. You got 30 seconds to finish this.
Yeah.
This is really Whitsitt's turn.
But you see, the issue that Tim Pool has here is he doesn't actually know the argument. So it's difficult for him to see the bullshit. Unlike us, we know what's going on. So we're able to dissect it and say, listen, here, what you're talking is nonsense, man. You understand? So it's difficult for a person that hasn't known what's going on.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of his audience probably has never heard of Airy's failure before.
Airy's failure. This is where, you know, sometimes it's good for the opponent to interject.
Mm-hmm.
This will be a good example for this is where you interject. When the guy's talking nonsense, you can interject and say, hey, that's nonsense, and here's why it's nonsense.
And that's what I was hoping Whitsitt would do. I hope he does it. But if I was there, I would have stopped him and I would have corrected him.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But that's why people don't want me on their shows like this. Because I correct people.
Who knows? Maybe Whitson opened the door for you, Flats. Who knows?
So, Austin, my question to you is, if you had your water-filled telescope on Mars and you point at a star, will you see stellar aberration consistent with Mars's orbital motion, or will it be affected by water?
If you went to Narnia, what would be your favorite color? I don't go to Mars, and that's irrelevant. It's a deflection. I'm going to correct. What he just said was the mainstream version. They do this with all truths, by the way. That's why we're going to have a Wikipedia.
First of all, even Whitson wasn't even mainstream. It was wrong. It was his own version.
Yeah.
Truth box at the bottom of this channel, and they have to misrepresent this test, and it has nothing to do with ether.
Let me pause real quick, so just don't forget what you're going to say. I want to stress one of the challenges is earlier we were mentioning, Google. The argument was Google says men can get pregnant. Well, Google says it's not, but I will stress Wikipedia is full of lies.
Yes.
And so if you look up my wiki, it claims, and this is totally irrelevant to the conversation, but it's relevant to Wikipedia. At some point, they added that I was a proponent of and sought out ivermectin, which is just could not be more false.
And that is the thing. People can add what they want on Wiki.
Yeah, but the thing is with Wiki that there are moderators who are accepting or disregarding. Even I know the situations when the person who had the article about was correcting the Wiki was disregarded. He was providing real history, real facts from his life, from his own experience, but they were it's not true, disregarded.
Right. Yep. They did a report that Wiki have a liberal bias to it. So
they argued against it to Joe Rogan on his own show. How they could put in something so false, and all of these editors are like, no, it's true. Tim Pool did this. And I'm like, watch the Rogan episode. I told him no. I said it doesn't work. That, whether you agree or disagree on any of the arguments being made on Flat Earth, presents a troubling scenario where the average person cannot figure out what is to be
So,
trusted.
Tim, that's one of my favorite things about astronomy is anyone can look up. It is,
But I don't agree with what Tim Pool just did now. Whitsitt was making an argument. Now he's taken it off of the argument.
Yeah.
Whitsitt was going to school him now on what is really going on.
Yeah. This would have been a good time for Tim to basically like, hold on, we heard you. Go ahead, Whitsitt.
Mm-hmm.
He's not following the conversation
He's kind
right
of
now.
white-knighted now for Scott.
the most open science there is.
There's no astronomical observation that proves heliocentrism at all works from a stationary Earth. But I don't want the point to get lost. I don't want the point to get lost. You just went on a long time, and you just said what we can read in Wikipedia. The problem with it is, if what Wikipedia is showing is a lie, and you can prove it by going and reading the papers and looking at Airy's actual documents. Have you done that?
I have. And he says that it had a profound impact on the undulating theory of light.
Okay.
Because ether was necessary for that.
Keep quiet and let what's it talk, man. Why do Globers always do this? And Flat Earthers specifically. They always have to over-talk a person when they need to talk.
And it's always at the end of the point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this time it's at the middle of the sentence, but yeah, I notice it's always at the end of the point. Soon as you're about to make the point, they go, ah.
I mean, it's the same when I looked at the last debate with Craig. I let Craig speak like he needs all the time. As soon as I start talking, he'll interrupt me and then moan, say, I'm the one always talking.
Projection much?
Yeah, it's insanity.
Gee. That lateral motion of the photon.
You've said that 4 times. Now,
one thing about with Craig, though. One thing about with Craig. And then he did an after show and moaned and cried about it for the whole show. How Flatzoid was interrupting me. I hate debating him, but I have to. And all that, like, really?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan actually did a good job because he had to stop him from talking over me the whole time. He wouldn't let me speak more than 5 words.
Yeah, he got mad at Ryan in that debate. I remember.
So you actually claimed, just so for the audience to understand, you have to look at a star with a telescope, and to keep the star in the center of your telescope, you have to tilt it.
Mm-hmm.
because it comes in at an angle. So the analogy he used is a good one. It's like rain. If it's raining straight down, but you run through it, even though the rain's falling straight down, it's going to look like it's coming in at an angle. And if you run faster, the angle is going to increase, right? So the idea is the Earth is moving around the sun, making the star look like it's coming in at an angle because of the orbital velocity of the Earth. Now, he claimed at the beginning that's why we have stellar aberration, because of orbital velocity. We had nothing to do with ether. You claimed that it comes at an angle because of orbital velocity. What he pointed out was, well, wait, if water is going to slow down the light, that's going to increase the amount of time it takes for the light to get through the telescope. It would be like speeding up in the rain. So it should actually increase the angle. It did not. Has nothing to do with ether.
Exactly.
The fact that it may also have an implication, sure, because either light's in a medium or it's not. The test isn't about the ether. The test is about actually isolating the causal mechanism of stellar aberration. So my question is, if you're claiming that it does tilt because of the orbital velocity initially, you claimed that was the cause of stellar aberration, why didn't it change when you increased the amount of time it took the light to get through the telescope?
Because the water slows it down on all axes.
Now, real quick, can you define stellar aberration for those that don't know?
So stellar aberration is what I was talking about with how the rain, if you're running in the rain, you got to tilt your umbrella down. But it could also be the wind is blowing the rain at you, and that's why you have to tilt your umbrella
That's
down.
not what he's asked.
No, he was saying that before that the rain was going straight angle 90 degrees. So now he's bringing other stuff. Oh, there's a rain, so probably it's because of the angle. It's bullshitting.
Yeah, that's not what was asked now.
Yeah, he only asked him to define it.
Yeah.
For the audience to understand what it is.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you're correct, both of you. But what I'm saying, he's always muddying the water, always with fucking details which have nothing to do with the question.
Yep. Wow.
But regardless of that, the idea is the stellar light, the light of the star, is deflected either due to our motion around the sun, or if you want to believe the sun's motion and the universe.
You can't claim that because you made a claim, your statement, you can't, according to general relativity, have a reference.
Right. And Tim Pool he is white knighting right now because he only asked him to define something. It's really honestly still Witsit turn, but
Yeah.
You is kind of white knighting Tim.
Just motion around.
He is, yeah. Let's see how much views they got now. 104, still going up.
Nice.
Us, but it's that relative motion that's causing it to deflect. And so, depending on what time of year you look at a star, it's going to be in a very slightly different place. It's about 20 arc seconds different depending on which time of year you're looking at the star.
Yeah, because times and seasons, dude. That means the star that you were looking for at a location in that time of year is now in a different location next time of year. You understand? So it's showing that the stars aren't the distances you claim them to be because of parallax. Remember, they claim the sun doesn't really change angular size because of its distance. That's because of parallax. It's the same with the stars. If you're claiming that at a different time of season of year, it would have 20 degrees 20 arc seconds difference, you would be claiming the star is at a mountable different distance. That's not true on your globe. You can't have that. So therefore, you just debunked your own argument for stellar aberration. Wow.
Flats.
Yes.
I'm going to bed.
Night, man. Appreciate you coming.
This guy's putting me to sleep.
Well, you are tired from all the painting.
Yeah,
so.
I'm tired.
Yeah, did you get it done? You've done this last wall.
Just got it done.
Nice. You haven't?
No.
Oh. It's a
Another
pain in the
wall.
butt, when especially if you've got to do 3 coats. That's
I've got another wall left to do in room, and then I've got all the way in bedroom to do.
Oh, dude. I wish I was there to help you, man, because I'm decent at painting.
Worst job ever decorating.
Should I start walking now, dude?
It's like listening to this guy decorating.
I really hope that we get more into Alex Stein as well, talking just now and suggest a bit more, because this Scott guy, it's too much.
So it's
he's killing the show right now. He's killing
it would have been a good show without him on, definitely. You know, but they can't stop talking. It's almost like they can't tolerate an audience to hear other than what they want.
But look, I don't mind a person talking though, but at least speak the truth. Don't just talk contradiction after contradiction and false information and act like it's true. And every time someone tries to interject, you interrupt them. So, yeah.
Right, I'm off anyway. Night. God bless.
Night.
See you all later.
But hopefully,
Good night.
hopefully, St. Janice gets in a bit. Witsit can talk a bit more, and we get some Alex Stein as well. Because there are more people in the show. It's not the Scott show.
That's the
So-
aberration, just to make it.
That's the basic aberration. So that's stellar aberration in a nutshell. Now, what Austin is suggesting is that we should see a different deflection, even without ether. That we
I
would
see he's keep reading his screen, like someone's telling him stuff on his laptop or something.
Yeah, do you think that's Matone actually sending these guys messages for real? I'm not.
That's
gonna
what I say. It sounds to me like McToon's on the other end or something, because he's speaking like McToon, and he keeps looking at his screen like he's reading something.
see a different amount of deflection if we slow the light down in water before it reaches the end of the telescope. But the problem with that is that it suggests
When you're
that
talking about someone that you know, you're talking to the people, looking at them. You're not looking at your computer screen.
water would have some way of knowing that, this vector towards the bottom of the telescope, I'm going to slow it down that direction, but I'm not going to have an impact on the lateral motion due to Earth moving. No, that doesn't work that way. It's going to slow it down, and it will still reach the bottom of the telescope in the same angle that it came into the telescope on, and that's exactly what happened.
Okay, so let's make sure it makes literally no sense. It is if the Earth is moving underneath the starlight. As it goes through the water, it's going to slow down. Now the Earth has moved further underneath the star than if it had gone through without the water, because now it's taking the starlight longer to get to you. The Earth is going to keep supposedly moving 67,000 miles per hour. That means it's going to have a greater angle. There is no even mainstream academic rebuttal to this. So
The problem is there wasn't this angle, therefore no globe movement.
Right.
That's also true, Sean. It could
They debunked their own assumption. It proved them wrong. So, and they can't get to the conclusion. Okay, that's not what we were expecting to get. So our
That's
assumption is wrong. So where we are wrong. Okay, so maybe Earth is not fucking spinning around.
Yeah, but they don't get to that point. They keep their bias. So they'll rather just call it a failure and leave it at that.
hand wave dismissal, claiming that I'm invoking the sentience of water, doesn't even make any sense. So you've been patently wrong.
It's not a hand wave dismissal, and you're assuming. See, your description of it there has an implicit assumption that because Earth keeps moving, that the light will have a greater deflection in the water. That would imply that this inherent motion caused by Earth's motion, this stellar aberration, has some way of still manifesting differentially from the downward motion of the photon down the telescope tube. It doesn't.
Do you not understand how things move?
No,
It's the
because
same
if he would know, he wouldn't be globe earther.
Let's take. I'm going to try and make it very simple as well. Take a fish tank, okay? It's filled with water. Put the light off. Have someone shine a torch at it, okay? It's going to hit at an angle. Now move that fish tank away. That angle that the light is going past through is going to change as that fish tank moves away. That is what Austin is saying. That angle did not change. Therefore, the Earth did not move. Get it?
I don't know why he's not getting that.
Because the light already entered the water, and while it was moving, it should have shifted a certain amount of angle because the Earth would still be moving. But
Right.
because it did not show that movement of angle, it wasn't moving. This is...
But according to you, you don't have a reference frame, so both.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a reference frame.
Right. So, but I mean, based upon that experiment, both things cannot be true, right? Because you have the law of non-contradiction, even in that aspect. In reality, both things cannot be true. So, if one is disproved, if you falsify one thing, you're proving the other. So. But I mean, I guess he wanted to still. I mean, he's contradicting himself because now he's arguing really honestly for a reference frame.
Mm-hmm.
When he said earlier he didn't have one.
Exactly. It's insane.
Have any way of doing that.
That's what you claimed. You claimed the reason it came in at an angle was the Earth was moving.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it came in at an angle is because the Earth is moving, but when it hits the water,
Okay, when it hits water.
it slows down, but it slows down equally in all directions. That means the angle through the telescope is still the same, and it still reaches the bottom of the telescope.
What makes a difference whether it's going lateral?
But that's my point. It doesn't. It's a
Okay,
reduction
so then
in
why-
velocity.
That was your definition you brought up with the water going lateral when you showed.
with the umbrella. Yeah. He's forgetting his own analogy.
Oh man, sorry, Tim. I wish you should have stopped him a bit, yeah, and said, "Let's move on to somebody else or something else," because this is. Oh.
Right.
Are you adding that in
all
there
axes.
then? You keep saying that.
Because Austin's description implies that it's only going to slow down as far as how far vertically it's coming down. Imagine the stars right above you. How slow it's coming down the telescope, right? Vertically. But in order for it to have a different angle of deflection due to the water, it has to continue to move at the same rate laterally that it did when it entered the telescope. But that requires ether. Because
No, that just requires Earth moving.
Right. That's what the experiment is based upon.
Yes.
And Austin he first off, he haven't been able to talk that long to even go that far, but Austin have only explained what you should see in an experiment based upon the prediction that is made to prove that the Earth is moving. You brought up the analogy of lateral with the umbrella analogy. You brought that up. Austin didn't bring that up. He only rebutted it. I mean, in one sentence. So you can't say Austin. You responding to Austin. He responded to you. You've been talking this whole time. Yeah, it's just like again, like what Craig did to Flatzoid. He keep interrupting me. It's your turn, Flatzoid. No, you interrupting me, Flatzoid.
It's quite crazy.
And then you say something.
If it doesn't,
he only
if
said
the ether isn't there, because if the ether is not there to entrain it, then there's nothing to cause it to.
Keep on saying if the ether's not there to entrain it, water's not sentient, light's not sentient. What the hell's up with this guy?
That's weird. It's a weird way to say things.
You can't train light, dude.
No. No. Train a dog, train a cat to some extent, but light, it's not sentient. It's like trying to say I can train fire. I can train the air.
Reflect at a different angle as it comes down the water.
Wow.
It'll simply slow down along its velocity vector, which in this case, in my example, is vertical. It'll just slow down, right? It's not going to go.
The Earth is still moving.
The Earth is still moving underneath it.
Right. The Earth
You're
is still
contradicting yourself. You're claiming it causes an angle change because of the Earth moving underneath it, and then you're turning around and claiming that the Earth moving underneath it wouldn't cause an angle change.
Yeah. I'm not claiming an angle change during the water transit, though. You're claiming
you can't pick and choose. Either it's causing it or it's not causing it, and there's no mainstream academic rebuttal.
That's what stellar aberration is, dude. That's what it's claimed to be. The movement of the Earth due to the star's angle due to the movement of the Earth. That's what stellar aberrations claim to be.
Remember
Now
that
you're
was
saying, no, it's not. But so
remember
nice
that was the
way-
question. Remember that was the question Tim asked him. What is stellar aberration?
So, in other words, he's fighting now for a geocentric globe.
though, it's already angled when it enters the telescope tube, right? It's not going to suddenly change angle because water's slowing it down.
It's called the incident angle will change because of the movement of the telescope. Has anybody ever tried to use a telescope to, for instance, look at a star before? Or the moon even? How quick does that thing move out of your view of your telescope?
Oh, as soon as if you're zooming in and you move an inch, it goes woof straight out.
It moves out of view quite quickly. That's why you have an EQ mount, so it can follow the movement of the star.
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah, you meant right. Okay, I thought you were meaning when you zoom in and you move
Yeah,
it.
you zoom
Right, no,
in.
you mean yeah.
When you look at it,
I
you
get
got
it.
to move with it, otherwise it's going to move out of view.
Absolutely.
Okay. You guys on the Earth, on the globe side, is claiming this is because the Earth is moving, so the angle of that light changes. Can you put that in your noggin and understand what's going on? He's fighting for an Earth not moving now. Thank you, Roger Little, for another $2, which says gravity bends light. Wow, now amazing. Gravity does a lot, man.
Oh,
I'm not even gonna lie. It seemed like it seemed like he's fighting for geocentric globe Earth.
Exactly. Thank you very much for the super chat, Roger. Appreciate it. It's exactly what it sounds like he's doing. Okay.
Because water's slowing it down in all directions, so you can't have an angle change unless something is entraining it, which would be ether.
We can move on. I think.
Okay, we can move on from this, but Tim, I want you to pull up Werner von Braun's tombstone, and obviously these guys are doctors, scientists, astronomers. I'm not a scientist whatsoever. Obviously, I'm an idiot, but this is why I believe in this stuff. Now, if you type in Werner von Braun, you type in his headstone, it has Psalm 19:1.
Yeah.
If you look up Psalm 19:1, and for the people that are playing at home that don't know who Werner von Braun is, Werner von Braun was a Nazi that we brought over during Operation Paperclip, and a lot of people called him a Nazi. They call me a Nazi. But believe it or not, our space program was created by an actual Nazi.
Yeah.
That's
if
true.
you guys know the history of that, NASA
he's
literally
correct on this
found
point.
it with Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
War criminals.
That's right.
Yeah, these are all facts. I don't
So
know
if
why Tim. I don't know why Stein calling himself an idiot because he's kind of like the second smartest person there.
He's definitely smarter than Scott. There's no doubt. Wow.
We took him, right? Like
Yes,
with
Operation Paperclip. We not just took him, we took a lot of their
what was the Japanese what was it called? There was two operations, weren't there? We took the Japanese scientists and the Nazi scientists.
Well,
Hey-
Paperclip's the one where we took after World War II. We took, and then Russia got
Was
a
it
lot
Unit
of the
571 or whatever.
Russia got a lot of like the technology. But my point is, I think it's very
731. Wait.
So that Werner von Braun Psalm 19:1, and if you look that up, if you look this up, this is the architect of our space program, right, Scott?
So fun story about that. Before I even knew about this tombstone, I like to play video games occasionally. I have an Xbox 360 Pro.
Okay. Yeah, he looks like he plays occasionally.
He's still playing Xbox 360. Wow.
That's a true Pac-Man. It is a Mandela effect.
What is?
Van Warner van Braun.
Oh,
Time.
right, got you.
Profile, that's how old I am, right? And my old Xbox 360 profile, I'm a Christian. I had that same verse on my Xbox 360 profile, but it doesn't mean that I think that there's a physical dome. It refers to.
Let me read it. So, Werner von Braun, 1912, 1977, Psalms 19:1, which reads, "The heavens declare the glory of God; the skies proclaim the work of His hands."
And in some translations, they refer to the heavens as the firmament.
that's
the
not a
actual
good-
Hebrew.
In the Hebrew, it says firmament. Type it-
firm, stereom as the
Is that
Greek.
King
Let's
James?
try.
Yeah,
you want me to do King James? Which?
Yeah, you should actually put the Strong's lexicon on, and it will give you that. But it talks about the firmament shows his handiwork.
Yeah.
Version of the Bible.
Yeah, King James.
Yeah, King James.
21st century King James.
I think that's
Sure.
Yeah, there you
The
go.
heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth His handiwork.
Yeah, and this will spill over into a theological debate. Obviously, the biblical cosmology.
So Elon's faking it.
So,
Maybe.
So there's all
Maybe.
I mean, there's
maybe.
all kinds of who knows what happens when you get up there, how far you're going, what
Elon's whole mission is to shatter the firmament to escape the realm, or what?
Yeah. Remember, they've probably been trying for years and years to try get out. They're not able to.
Can't be done.
Why do you think that?
Operation Fishbowl was?
Yeah, Dominic.
Yeah.
So if they would be able to somehow do it, I believe we will be flooded. That's what I believe. Water above, water below.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even the scripture says that when there was flood, people reported that it looked like the heaven opened, and it float came.
Yep, exactly.
It's
I
funny
don't
because
know.
I hope this gets clipped, and I hope Elon sees this, because Elon all day long brags about how these rockets are, taking off and going to the ISS or whatever. Yet, Tim, this is a provable fact. The farthest that NASA has ever sent a rocket is
the
in
moon.
1969 through 1972, the Apollo moon missions that went through the Van Allen radiation belt, which that's a whole kit and caboodle. Like, how were we able to get this film through this deadly radiation back and forth?
Bringing great
How did
points.
that work? But
I
my
remember
point
this
is,
debate that he had with McToon, and he made McToon get so triggered that he ended up rage quitting.
Really? Oh, nice. Didn't say it.
That was funny because he was debating Alex Stein on this, and Alex Stein was just saying, well, the film, the radiation doesn't work. And McToon's like, well, what kind of radiation? What kind of radiation? He's like, I don't know, just the bad kind. And he got so triggered. No, you guys are bad. And he, he left.
I need to watch it.
On
Thanks for
NBD.
letting me know.
Oh wow, I didn't see that one.
I think we should actually bring it up sometime again. It was a funny debate.
But he's like a sound man, he's just bringing the proper arguments, Just I always I'm a proponent of bringing dumbed down arguments, Just really, really simple arguments. Beauty is in the simplicity. That's how you defeat them. Not going with the details and so on, because public doesn't understand this shit, and there's I don't know, whatever, and they're just more confused. Bring easy, very easy, very, very simple arguments. That's it. Always.
Exactly.
Is we had rockets that could go 257,000 miles in 1969, and today the farthest we can go is low Earth orbit, which is what is it, 120 miles? What is low Earth orbit? How far is it?
500.
Yeah, like 500. I'm saying so. Rockets in 1969 could go 257,000 miles, and now the farthest we can go is 500 miles. It's a pretty big reduction considering it's been 60 years.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean it's the farthest we can go?
The farthest we can go right now, Barack Obama, you can pull it up, it's called low Earth orbit. That's where they...
Yeah, the thing is, they're not able to go further, and their excuse always is, the technology we have now has issues.
But they could do...
But unfortunately, we have lost technology when we have done...
But when they originally went to the moon, they could go to the moon on the technology of an 8-bit calculator or something.
Yeah, your phone now is much stronger than computers or combined power,
Yeah, as Don Pettit says, we would love to go back to the moon. They would send us back to the moon in a nanosecond, but it's a painful. We lost that technology, and it's a painful process to build it up again. So 60 years ago, they could take something that has a processing power of a Nintendo to go to the moon, but today, my dad's watch has more processing power than that, and you can't go to the moon.
That's what I'm saying. You should be able to go to Mars with an iPhone.
Yep, it's quite insane.
The question is, are you talking about the limitations of technology?
But we didn't have that limit of technology in 1969.
No, I'm asking if that's what you mean, because if I said I can't get to the gas station, am I talking about running there? Am I talking about driving a car there? Is my car broken? Like, when you say the farthest, okay, my point is this. Did we have rockets capable of going that fast we no longer have? Or is the technology and knowledge of how to build those rockets missing?
Well, we had that technology, and we destroyed that technology. That's it. According to NASA, is that we had the technology to go to the moon, and we accidentally destroyed it. And not only did we destroy the technology and all the blueprints, but we also accidentally destroyed all the telemetry data that gives us coordinates of every point that the Apollo mission was orbiting the moon, or on its
I hear what you're saying, and the difficult thing is we're talking about the U.S. government, so it's kind of like,
do you trust them?
Ooh, do you trust them?
No.
This would be interesting.
No.
I've also been finding this interesting. I don't know about you guys. There's a lot of Globers out there that they don't trust the government at all, okay?
Right.
But they trust NASA, which is a government entity.
There are contradictions.
They trust every space agency out there, which are government entities. Heck, if you think Elon Musk is a private organization, you guys are smoking something.
I don't know if I mentioned that before. Possibly I did. There was a guy interviewing people on the street, the leftist. Do you trust government? No, I don't trust government. No, I don't. Okay, and they were fighting for the gun control in the USA, Second Amendment, gun limitation, and so on. So he asked me, okay, so you are against weapons? Yeah, I'm against weapons. So okay, so someone has to take it. Yeah, of course. Who will do that? No, I don't know, some government. But before you just said you don't trust government. Crickets.
Mm-hmm. But it's always that way.
No, it's like, do you think they're competent? Do you think that they have accurate record keeping? The DoD just failed another audit, like 7th time in a row.
For $800 billion.
There's people have no idea what they're doing in terms of records, and probably a lot of it's on purpose.
Well, this is how you know it's fake, though, Tim, because there's all these. There's all these movies where they'll show like this is how you know it's fake, because there's like a DEI movie of like black women, and no offense, I love black women, I love Medea, but they literally made a movie that like a black woman with a calculator is able to hand compute our calculations to go to the moon.
What does that mean? It's fake.
Because a black woman can't sit there with a calculator. Have you seen it?
But why is it explain? Hold on.
Why are you emphasizing this?
Yeah, it's black. What does that have to do with it?
It's nothing about the race. I'm just saying. No offense.
Because it's part of his comedy, guys. That's why. That's all. Remember, he's a comedian.
I don't think a woman could do it. It's nothing to do with.
But a man could.
But I'm saying that's the DEI. It's like they want to make you think like, it was all because.
No. See, this comes back to what we were talking about the other night with stereotyping. He's fallen under the stereotype thing now.
The reason they made the movie was DEI. The person existed.
And I don't think they did much. But I'm just saying, our space technology.
That's white supremacy, Alex.
Well, maybe a little bit, but our space technology is the only thing to retard. We have not gone further in space. We've actually traveled less.
Alex, can you name any of the technologies we lost?
Yeah.
Everything.
We can't shoot. Okay, first of all,
just say yeah. Bring Don Pettit up and his statement. There we go. That's all you need to bring up. Why aren't they able to bring the telemetry data up? Oh, they taped over it. Who the hell goes and tapes over something that is supposed to be the best evidence for the claim where they went?
Supposedly because of the money to save the money. Yeah, NASA needs money to save, right? Because they couldn't buy new tapes.
They needed to save money by over taping on tapes. I mean, really.
Yeah, but what's the argument?
It's insane.
I can't name off the top of my head, but I can tell you this much: when it goes to the moon landing, the manpower that it took us to get to the moon, we get to the moon, and the moon is 1/6 our Earth's atmosphere of gravity. The rocket power that it took to blast off from the moon was not even 1/1000th the power that it took us to leave the Earth. And then on top of that, if you see,
now we're talking about the moon landing.
Because the moon landing is involved in this, and you look at the moon landing clips where the blast crater is. There's no dust. There's nothing. There's not even dust on the.
We'll go back a little bit because I don't want to jump too far, but you put a tag on that. I don't want to miss that point. We lose technology all the time. It's actually like a well-known thing. I mean, one of the greatest travesties of human history was the burning of the Library of Alexandria. Mm-hmm. Who knows what information was lost? Probably a lot of.
Can you prove that the Library of Alexandria burnt down? First of all.
Yeah, that's one thing. And even if it did exist, it was done on purpose, 100%.
But have you realized that even the globe that is claimed Aristophanes had measured, quote unquote, their radius, all the information about the guy burned down in the Library of Alexandria, just by some coincidence. And then the information about him popped up, 300 years later? Weird how that works. Not dodgy at all.
A lot of stupid stuff was in there, but there's probably a lot of stuff that we're like, wow. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I mean this literally. Wasn't there something big about Romans had concrete that sat in the water? Yeah. We're not quite sure how they did it.
We lost the formula.
Yeah.
Didn't get it back until, 17 or 1800s?
Yeah. And so when people say things like, oh, well, how come we can't do this now? And I'm like, I got to be honest, like, the priorities of the Cold War shifted dramatically, and then you're asking if a government bureaucracy with filing cabinets accurately tracked those filing cabinets. I'm gonna be like, yeah, right. they can't figure out how to. They just spent $70,000 on a conference table because they don't know who's spending what where. The government is broken and ridiculously inefficient. Your best argument against the moon landing is that the government's too stupid to pull something like that off.
Well, they also use incompetence as a cover too, right? Like they do.
They use incompetence as a cover. Sorry, how organized was NASA supposed to be for this whole Apollo mission thing? They were very organized, were they not?
Yeah.
They had records on who they commissioned to do bolts, for instance, who they commissioned to this, who they had connections everywhere. They had, you can literally go, get the data on somebody who did the red wiring, for instance, in one of the capsules, okay? But you're telling me something like telemetry data, that's the most important thing for this mission, is taped over by accident. Come on. It's very naive to think that just because the government's incompetent, they made it to the moon.
Exactly. If they really had it, they would make copies of copies of copies. It would be fucking multiple copies. It wouldn't be just one original. That's as simple as that.
I mean, think about it this way. Look at sports. Have you guys ever wondered how they know exactly everything? Let's say an NFL game comes up. They have all the data and stats from where that person started. They even have data from when that person was in high school and got tries or whatever and scored points till this day. All their data is stored. Now, that's for sports. Okay? It's not even really anything other than just a did you know kind of tidbit data. The telemetry data is data supposed to showing they actually went where they showed. It doesn't exist. Why? What's the excuse? We taped over it. We didn't have space. Okay.
But a lot
Keep telling yourself that, buddy.
But a lot of people believes it because government told them so.
Really, really bad excuse, and people just accept it. I mean, imagine you go to court, okay, and for instance, it's for fraud, and you're supposed to bring data up to prove your case that you didn't commit fraud. And your excuse was, I had it, but I taped over it because I didn't have space. I wanted to really put this movie. I wanted to watch this movie. I couldn't be there, so I taped over it.
My dog ate the homework.
That is, it's a my dog ate the homework argument. It's really idiotic.
But people still believe it.
Do that, right? Real smart. Well, no. It's just a great cover where every time they do something wrong, it's like, oh, it was an incompetent mistake. Well, one thing people don't know is because I heard Matt Walsh say, because I'm looking at Matt Walsh here. He says,
we have the thing on the
yeah. He said, too many people would be in on it. But Krantz talks about how in the control room that the simulations were so good that no one involved would know. It got to the point where you couldn't tell the difference between the simulation and the fix. So, I mean, that's a whole conversation.
Well, let me ask you, Doctor, do you think we went to the moon?
I think it's possible to go to the moon. But I think it's very hard, especially in 1969, to send a man to the moon. That's where I have the difficulty.
And wouldn't they post up there be the best military positioning ever, right? Like you just be on patrol of the world.
Well, and you know how we didn't go to the moon because we'd have a Coca-Cola sign on it. It would be the best
I agree with that.
Absolutely, probably.
I agree. It would be one of the biggest money-making gold mines out there. For advertising. I agree.
Well, they say that we put these laser reflectors on the moon.
Yes.
It's hard to refute because I don't know whether they went to the moon or not. But they say they bounce lasers off of these laser reflectors at the moon.
And they bounced lasers off the moon before that. They did in World War II, man.
Yeah, like,
I'd like
they were able
to bounce lasers off the moon
Exactly.
before they left.
It won't tell you that part.
Yeah.
That
But
they did
if
it
you move the
before.
laser a little off the retroreflector, you get a much lower signal. So
So maybe the point, like I was saying on the debate with Marcus and them, shout out to Marcus Allen, really, really awesome guy. And maybe that point where they pointing the laser would have maybe a part, you don't know, a kind of reflective surface that gives a stronger. And by the way, that reflective data that points back is so minuscule. It's not even a 0.00001% of something. It's literally a blimp on the radar. Not even. You're telling me that no one was able to just figure out that maybe if we point it here, it comes with a different signal. Then they can just claim that's where they went. Don't you think that's possible?
Oh,
Really,
what's
can you
causing
can
that?
you
So
verify,
you admit that you can shoot a laser off
let's
the
get
moon.
what's his name? What's the guy with the big lasers on YouTube here? Can't think of his name. Styropyro. Let's get Styropyro involved. I want to shoot lasers.
I was actually a long time ago. I was with some buddies and we were working on a laser project with crazy ideas of using refraction in the clouds to create a visible signal so that you could transmit data long range by using a high-powered infrared laser. And at the point of refraction, you would actually be able to point a lens at it and collect really low latency data, which could transmit communications simply by looking in the direction of where you know the laser to be. So to the human eye, they see nothing. There's no way to intercept a radio signal because the beam of light shot straight in the sky. You then use a lens capable of detecting infrared, and it can give you low latency data so that you can communicate over a battlefield without someone intercepting your signals or satellite communications.
Well, speaking of,
so then people can just use infrared technology, just infrared stuff to pick up the message. It's not going to be very handy in battle then, would it? Because, by the way, the military always uses infrared because it cuts out most of the glare and stuff. So that's by default wouldn't work. So I don't know. Well, it's an idea, but I don't think it'll be a very successful idea.
speaking of World War II, Austin, explain how the Germans were able to steal signals.
This is a big.
Listen to this, Tim. You'll like this.
It's a big flat Earth proof. So, in World War II, the Germans developed so what they would do is they would fly the planes in blind, right? So no one knew. So it would be pitch black, and they would use radar beams to guide the planes. And so they would use intersecting beams, and they would know, okay, this is where I need to go. That way, no one knew where they were at. Then they thought, wait, we can do this kind of in reverse, and we can attack this way. We can show the plane where to drop the bomb if we actually intersect the beams. Once it gets there and it has a coherent signal, it'll know, oh, I dropped the bomb. So this was actually proposed to the British, and they turned it down because like, no, this won't work because the radius of the Earth is going to block those signals way before any tactical position. The Germans did it. And the Germans did it from 400 or 500 miles away. They intercepted these two signals, and first attempt just destroyed a warehouse that was manufacturing engines and stuff. And it should have been blocked at roughly 30 miles, according to the globe Earth math. And they sent it hundreds of miles and successfully blew up the building.
You know Dave McKeegan's rebuttal to this was? Diffraction.
No doubt.
That was his argument. The diffracted beam went over the Earth curve to give them that signal. It's like, oh. Yeah.
I'm definitely open to some type of explanation for that because that is not physically possible, and it has to have specific coherency. So beams obviously they spread out and diverge as they go further, but it had to have a maximum width of a few hundred yards intercepted in a very precise way so that the plane could blow.
Now here's the other issue. The Allies claimed that their ability to bomb so accurately at night was because they ate carrots. You guys know the story?
No.
A rumor was spread that there was high carrot consumption, which improved their eyesight, and that's why they were so good at hitting targets at night when it was actually a technological development they didn't want the Germans to know that we had. So my point in this is the challenge, obviously, for all of these conversations goes back to just like the standard philosophical, are you just trusting something you read? And so how much of it is I did a study that could not confirm X, which is very limited data.
Well, you see, when it comes to the Nicobine, it's actually documented. It's not just reading something. Where, for instance, if you're talking about, for instance, what you just said with the carrots, I don't really know if it's documented. There's things that have what you call hostile witnesses as well. And the Nicobine incidents did have hostile witnesses to confirm it. Big difference.
And there's a strong argument, the carrots have beneficial vitamins for the eyesight, but you can't freaking make it like a sight of the Superman. No way, man.
I mean, it's the same with the bodybuilding things today. How steroids got into bodybuilding was they were all naturals, and then they started realizing the Russians and the Germans were looking very buff, and it came that they were figuring out that they were using steroids and stuff. There's a whole interesting thing about this, and that's how the steroids game started getting into bodybuilding, because they've realized that the guys were growing bigger and stronger based on the steroids use. So it's the same thing.
Because you have to try and replicate it multiple times, and then depending on your view of modern science, you'd want some kind of peer review. So if you're telling a story about how the Germans did this thing, it's like, or they lied, or the Germans
they blew up the warehouse at night somehow, right?
Yeah, they
lied, but the warehouse blew up on its own.
Yeah, there's another point that he's trying to make. He's still appealing to some type of authority because he's talking about peer review, which is not like validated. If you just looking at peer review alone without it being validated by anything, you're still in the same fallacy that you're trying to compete against, or you're trying to combat appeal to authority or appeal to someone's credentials. So if you're just saying like, oh, well, this is true because peer review, okay, well, you're not even really appealing to authority. You're just appealing to some magazines.
Census.
Look, the same with COVID. There was multiple documents, multiple papers claiming that they have isolated COVID. But you, as a citizen of any country, you have the right to request FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. If anyone on the world will request from their own government evidence of purification and isolation of COVID, they will tell you just in the response that they can't do that because they don't have any evidence of that ever happened. And they bound by those rules. So they can't really tell you that. Or we send you documents that, it was done over here. But if you check the documents, you follow that stuff, you will find they never isolated it.
You got very bad sound. It sounds very muffled and stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit scratchy, isn't it?
Is it better now?
A little bit staticky, like you're rubbing wool on top of the mic. Kind of like that.
So they had a spy, and they didn't want the Allies to know that they had a spy who gave them accurate information and timing and telemetry, etc.
Or they stole the signal. But Tim,
yeah, the challenge is that there's good reason for one of the questions about aliens.
Is it better now?
Why
did aliens?
No,
you might have to drop it, come back in. Yeah.
Is somebody trying to take my place in here or something?
I think, Jonas, you might have to drop and try and come back in, man. Okay, let's go on.
Does the United States claim, what these hearings where they're like, there are aliens here, and then you had that one guy in the 90s, I can't remember his name, but he was on Joe Rogan, he was talking about how he saw aliens. The purpose of that is actually relatively simple. They could be trying to convince our adversaries that we hold secret technologies that can destroy them, that they can't figure out what we have. So for the Germans to say like, oh, we did this thing with radar, the U.S. is like, but that's impossible. We can't figure it out. The confusion and the fear in your enemy is valuable to lie. So those stories could be Who knows?
Sure, but if we get to the point where we all agree,
But the thing is, the warehouse actually did blow up by bombers. It's recorded. It's not fake news. You can even the BBC, as it said, has documentaries on this, which is British.
Still the same, guys.
Janice
Yep,
is
it's
bad.
bad, G.
Still the same.
Very bad, man. But I mean, even the British would be considered a hostile witness because it was their warehouse who blew up.
That's right.
if we were to agree that that would falsify the globe if real. Now we've made like fruitful progress, right? Because then we'd be like, well, let's try to imitate this. Now, obviously, imitating that's not going to happen, really.
Occam's razor would suggest the Germans just lied.
Facts.
Yeah.
No, like Blue Pac-Man said, a global credit union ad just popped up for me now on live Flatzoid. Lol.
Yeah, I just laughed for it as well. So they're listening what you're saying, talking about, guys.
That's it.
Maybe it's actually acknowledged. It's acknowledged by even the Allies that they use this technology. And I'll even go a step further and tell you the supposed explanation as to how it happened on the globe. And this is all anyone's ever said, is diffraction. That basically the Earth would block the beam and then it would fill back in.
Dave McKeegan. Diffraction.
Behind it, then it would keep doing that. The problem is that wouldn't maintain the coherency needed to intercept the beams, and I've never got a next rebuttal. So, good point. Obviously, I wasn't there. I can't verify that. You know, I've gone and tested the Earth myself. That's actually my primary reason.
You believe the Earth is round?
Yeah.
So, what is your? How do you feel about it?
I don't know. I have never heard this before, so I'd have to investigate it. But your point, if I can elaborate on your point, that they could have lied, it could have been this, could have been that, and we don't know. Okay, so let's go back to this Earth fixed or not fixed issue, and there's another experiment that was interpreted in two different ways by many scientists, and that was the 1888-87 Michelson-Morley experiment.
I can read this.
I knew it was coming, dude.
I was waiting for this. Segment.
Very simple experiment. You probably know about it, right?
Here we go.
So if the Earth is moving around the sun at about 20 miles a second, and you shoot a light beam in the direction that the Earth is moving, that light beam should be impeded by space. At that time, they thought ether. Okay, so space is a something. It's not a nothing, because nothing does not exist. So it has to be something. Something's going to impede that light beam, and they could tell you by how much that light beam would be impeded. They can figure it out. Okay?
The speed of the Earth.
Yeah. So here's the problem. It didn't show any resistance to the light beam, space. Okay? They couldn't measure anything. It measured just a little bit, but not enough for an Earth going around the sun. Okay? So the obvious interpretation of that experiment is, well, the Earth isn't moving.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there wasn't any impedance of the light beam.
61 people watching and 61 likes. How good is that? That's
Woo! Thank you very much, guys.
100%.
Wow.
Appreciate it, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah, at one stage we had 90 people watching. So
yeah, it was like at 100. Yeah, before. Okay, guys, we're gonna pick it up. Come back.
Guys, rock. Yeah, hit the likes, spray, and share the show. Really do appreciate it. I think we're gonna try go to at least an hour tonight on this, and then we can do the other hour tomorrow night. You guys up for that?
So what you do? You're going for one more hour?
No, we're going to finish their first hour of their stream. It's 47 minutes now.
Oh, I see. I get you. Got you. That's cool. That's cool.
We've been going on for over 3 hours now.
Yeah, man. We both had long streams today. I had 4.5 hours. Now 3 hours so far. Yeah, long streams, man. It's an A stream, my dear. Now one of the best, I think. One of the best.
Okay. Well, we can't have that because we're all Copernicans, you see. We believe since the time of Copernicus that the Earth does move around the sun. So there has to be another explanation. This is where your lie may come in, you see. The explanation is there is no ether. And the light beam couldn't be impeded because the ether doesn't exist, which is a la special relativity. That's Einstein's special relativity in a nutshell. Okay? So here's another way to explain the same experiment as opposed to a fixed Earth. Which one's correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we went on for a while where, okay, Einstein has to be correct. We all want to be Copernicans. We don't want to kiss the feet of the Pope. So we'll take his explanation. Okay? And then 10 years later, Einstein comes back and tells us, well, the special theory really doesn't work all that well because it's in a pristine environment. You have no inertial forces, you have no ether, you have no nothing. And that's why the light beam can go the same speed. But what if we have a big universe where we have gravity, we have inertial forces, we have heat, we have all kinds of things that could impede that light beam? And so guess what? Einstein took back the ether that he had gotten rid of in the special relativity theory. Okay? So if you take back the ether...
Guys, all he did was he took ether and called it space-time. That's what he did at the end of the day.
Then how are you going to explain Michelson-Morley?
Yeah, and Wikipedia will tell you that that's Michelson-Morley disproved the ether, and everyone repeats that script.
Yeah,
they don't know what he just said.
So you think there is an ether?
Yeah.
But what is it? Could you explain what it is?
Yeah, it would be, there's many things it could be.
I wouldn't agree that there is an ether.
We can't really prove or disprove it.
I would say that there's waters above. Like
yeah, for me the same, exactly.
I wouldn't say there's an ether per se, like they pushing.
Yeah.
It could be an electron-positron dipole, because they found that in the 1931 Anderson experiment. It could be Planck particles at 10 to the minus 35 meters in length.
There is a guy in Mexico, and there is a group of scientists working on the machine, which is pulling out the power from the air, supposedly from the ether, and it's healing people. So people have bruises, have twisted ankles, whatever, and it's just curing them. So something is being pulled out from the air. We don't know what it is, but it does work, and it was based on the Tesla technology. And those Mexican scientists improved it by 100 times. So hard to say.
Yeah. Sean, I just want to say the luminous ether is based in space. So they were claiming that the speed of light based in space, based on a luminous ether, will be different compared to on Earth when it hits through the telescope. That's the only link to the ether in Airy's failure. But the claim was it's not going through an ether because the angle would change because it's the Earth moving. Now, because it didn't show that angle change, therefore it couldn't disprove the ether or prove Earth is moving. So that's why it's called Airy's failure. Because the narrative today is Airy, he was trying to prove the ether, and because he couldn't, he failed. So they coined the term Airy's failure. But in fact, it showed the Earth was not moving.
Because we know that space cannot be nothing. It has to be a something, and if it's going to be a something, it has to be the smallest something that's possible to exist as matter.
So does that mean that
Why are you assuming it has
if
to be
it's
something
Planck particles or whatever, there's just like an infinite
water, like we are saying? Why are you assuming that? They always operate on the assumptions. So why they won't assume it can be water, for example? Water above, water below. But they always go by the scientism.
Yeah, Sean, because they rule that out because to them the measurement starts as soon as the light hits the telescope of water. That's where they're taking the measurement from. That's why.
It actually shows the heavens moving in my head. That's why.
Yeah.
not necessarily literally infinite, but just like a ridiculously large sum of all of them within and around us all the time? Or
Everywhere,
you're saying in a vacuum?
Yeah, because the atom itself is 99% empty space.
And that empty space, you're saying, though, is going to be something.
It's going to be something.
Yeah, and Tesla actually said that he believed it was a substance that was tenuous beyond conception, meaning like thinner than an actual homogeneous medium. Basically, that it's like the air is right now, only it's an additional medium, but it's so thin that it's like beyond conception.
Yeah.
And a fascinating thing that I love to bring up, and we brought up on Timcast IRL 2 days ago, was the discovery of air as matter, the eventual discovery of air as its weight, and the eventual discovery of the composition.
I find that funny. Discover of air. I think when you're born, you realize air exists. That first time you take your breath. Yeah, let me try and see if I can draw it in for Sean quickly. But yeah, it's crazy. The discovery of air. Yeah, it's like, okay. Okay, Sean, they're gonna. This is how that. Okay, let's put the Earth there. Gonna draw a telescope. Let's just make a telescope like that, for instance. Okay, and they filled the telescope up with water. Now they had the star. Okay, I'm gonna have to let's just say the star's there. Okay, and the light of the star is coming down to the telescope. Let's say that way. Now, what happens is it has to have a refracted angle. This is the refracted angle reading they're taking. So let's just say it refracts down to this way to hit there. Now, they're saying I'm going to have to just do it this way. I'm going to take it there. Now, they're saying this telescope is still moving while the light is hitting. So this angle here has to change because the angle towards the star has changed. You understand? Because of the water, because the Earth has moved in this direction a certain point. So their only measurement is worrying about this part. They're not worrying about the part of the atmosphere or that side. They're assuming from here till here is exactly the same speed, and then only take into account the speed in the telescope. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Freaking Picasso.
So yeah, that's practically why they're ignored it that way. They ignored factors. That's what they do. It's called selective. And all the pseudoscience of the globe today is based on being very selective.
The same as a lot of Christians who do not believe in the Holy Trinity because they use scripture very selectively, unfortunately. Selective reading. The same in scientism, yeah, unfortunately.
Early humans didn't understand that there was actually a matter in front of them.
Right.
They thought there was nothing.
Yeah.
And then, as the story goes, there's a couple stories. One of them I just read the other day was that they flipped a bucket upside down and put it in water, and water wouldn't go in it. And they were like, "There's something in there." And they're like, "Hey." And then it wasn't until, unless all of our understanding of science is wrong, which I say a lot, was the 1700s with who did we look up? He actually figured out the weight of air. And then so it's fascinating. It's fascinating because we take so much for granted. Like the discovery of zero is fascinating in mathematics. Early humans didn't conceive of that in math, and how it behaves and how it affected our understanding of the universe.
Guys, what's the weight of air?
What's the weight of air?
Yeah, they figured out the weight of air.
Well, you can't weigh it. It has to be calculated and contained.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to weigh it, and even then it's dodgy. Even then it's dodgy, and it's not measured, it's calculated.
Exactly. It's amazing how when they need to weigh air, gas, they have to put in containment.
Absolutely.
So they have to have the net weight of the container, and then they have to put the gas in there, and then weigh the gas in there by minusing the container's weight.
Yeah.
And then assume that air has weight.
Mm-hmm.
So, just simply put, to wrap that thought, there's so much we don't know that would dramatically change everything we think we know about the universe, which could happen as soon as humans discover another concept. Or
that I can agree.
Zero is kind of fascinating because it's so obvious to us now. It's just ingrained in us. Yeah, zero, right? But there were generations of civilization where they were like, huh? And then somebody went, dude, it was an Indian guy, and he was like, look at this. And then they were like, whoa, that makes sense. Cool stuff, huh?
That's an important point, right? Is this like dogma is so antithetical to science or discovery and knowledge. Throughout all of history, someone's made a random discovery that shattered the current paradigm. Right? That's what happens. So every time the mob role ridicules those who point out that there may be alternative or the evidence doesn't match it until that.
It's so true. It is. Majority is always the one that takes and ridicules the minority until it gets accepted. That's the truth.
It happens. Everyone switches overnight, right?
So, let me ask you, how do you explain gravity?
Gravity goes right back to the Planck particle, I think. Now, there's a lot of theories out there about gravity.
Yeah, Planck particle. That's why you get Planck's constant.
Oh, right. Got ya.
But if this book...
I call him Planck because,
he's a Planck.
I call him Planck.
Oh, Planck would.
It makes me think of, remember Ed and Eddie?
Yes, of course.
Great show.
Nice.
Is 99% Planck particle, and whatever paper's made of.
But you just mean ether.
You could say ether. I mean,
do you think it is Planck particle?
I think it has to be the smallest possible material substance that nature allows. Because if it's not the smallest, then you're going to have something there between the particles that can't be nothing, has to be something.
Whoa, I don't agree with that. Why can't there be nothing between? Air, you would agree that the model of air has space between them.
Of course.
There's space between air molecules. There's nothing there. So that would be a contradictory statement to what you just said, man. There's space between gas. That's why gas is compressible, because there's space between it. That's why you can't compress water, but you can compress air.
Exactly.
Well, they like to say that nothing. It seemed like I said, I had this conversation with Witchet, and it seemed like when they say nothing, they say it as in nothing don't exist. You're saying nothing exists, which is a paradox, because it's like, okay, we're not saying nothing exists. We're just saying there's nothing there. Well, you say, well, there's got to be something there because nothing exists, which is a paradox. So
nothing
with words, kind of.
Exactly.
Nothing is the thing which rocks dream about.
That was funny, man. That was a good one. I want to see a Planck particle attract a Planck particle. That's what I want, or an atom. Either one of the two. I don't think that's ever happened either.
There's not enough mass for that. It's almost like he's saying the conglomerate of the Planck particle is what is substance, which gives mass attracting mass. That's what he's saying.
There is even, I think, even better definition.
That's crazy, dude.
Nothing is the god. Is the god of atheists. They are coming back to their creator because they have been created out of nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly that. Naturalism. It all stems down again to self-creation, and then they don't want to accept that self-creation because then they just deny it and say there is no such thing as creation because it just existed.
But even if you would,
I had with R and Ra.
even if you believe in the theory of evolution, from the scientific point of view, to preserve the cell, enzymes, it's going exactly opposite to their assumption. Because for the real science, to preserve the enzymes, it must be nearly close to 0 degrees. So they can preserve it. Yes. So if you would getting involved with evolution, it would self-destroy, because there would be not enough time to preserve it. No, not enough. Low enough temperature. So it would be exactly opposite. There will be de-evolution, not evolution.
Yes, Sunflower. He's asking if you zeroed a very hyper-accurate scale in a vacuum and then took it out of the vacuum, would it register positive weight? Yes, because gas would be hitting it. It's pressure. It's simple. Just like if my hand hits my hand, that's pressure. It will register a unit measure.
That's why, for example, fire extinguisher works, because of the pressure.
Yeah. Doesn't mean gas has weight. Okay.
So now you're going to have to go back to the smallest possible particle and the smallest possible distance. This is all already known in quantum mechanics. Okay. So if everything is filled with Planck particles, then if you have matter made up of, protons, neutrons, electrons, and that can exist in a Planck particle medium, then it's going to create a vacuum. Okay. You need me to elaborate on that?
Yeah, we'll explain.
Why will it create a vacuum? Just because he says so.
Well, yeah,
I'm not even sure with the proton.
And while he's sitting there, Winston need to really listen to this, because right now this guy's trying to describe gravity, how you can have a downward vector, how can gravity exist with this ether, honestly. You need to listen to this because it kind of goes against his own way of how he believed in ether to exist, because Winston says there is no scientific evidence behind it. He's not trying to prescribe it to anything within matter, but here it is. You sit next to this guy. This guy is saying that it is physical, and it's a particle, which is physical, and this particle creates this medium, and now can even create a vacuum. So he's just replacing the G, honestly.
Replacing the G, exactly. That's all you do.
Yep.
You're saying we're being pulled down by vacuum forces, or?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's a vacuum force because you have matter impeding on the Planck particle, and now the Planck particle isn't at its optimal density.
So in other words, Bernoulli's principle in quantum physics. So he's taken Bernoulli's principle and quantified it with quantum physics. Still more plausible than gravity for the globe, by the way, of mass attracting mass. It's quite an interesting way of looking at it. Do I agree with it, though? No.
Yeah.
If it's not at an optimal density, it's going, and nature abhors a vacuum,
right,
then it's going to try to compensate for that lack of optimal density and start pulling. Whatever's out there, it's going to start pulling.
So do you think that there is a firmament and there's no space then?
See, now this is another issue about the firmament that we need to know, which is a lot of the theories are based on the fact that the firmament is a solid thing. That's why you...
That's what the firmament is, solid, not theory. And that's what firmament means.
That's right. We noticed that the like say earlier, it was 100%. At the time, it was 61 to 61. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's averaging.
He's going to make a claim that it's not solid. It's something that you could grab from inside, like you could put things in it. So it's not solid. It's more like liquid.
Can he prove that?
Of course,
you have the picture of the dome. That's what you get in Genesis chapter 1, verses 6 to 9. That it's a solid thing.
Yeah, it looks like a glass barrier, right?
Yeah,
figuratively.
Yeah, but whatever it is, it could be gold. Who knows? It's solid.
Radiation.
Well, that's not solid.
No, you're saying the presumption is that it's solid.
No, because that's what the Hebrew word means.
Oh, really?
I mean, that's why you get that's why you get the word firmament. It's firm.
I'm so happy he actually acknowledges that. Thank you, Dr. Sanjanas.
Yep, some was
Wait a minute. Let's
But
play.
think about it. But look at it. This is a good concession because a lot of the Christian globies don't want to acknowledge that's what firmament means. They fight us tooth and nail and say it just means expanse.
Yep.
It's open heaven, open sky. That's what they try and fight for. So I'm glad that Dr. Sanjanas is actually conceding, yes, it means solid.
Mm-hmm.
But he's probably just going to say that's not what he agrees with, which
Double
I can
twist,
respect
yeah.
rather than expect rather than just saying, no, that's not what it means.
Yeah, and gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay,
but in
that's where
Greek
it
it's
comes from.
stereoma, which means solid.
Yeah, but there's another facet to this Hebrew word,
There is
rakia.
combat, yeah.
And you get that in the second part of Genesis 1, when it starts talking about the celestial bodies.
Here we go.
It says, God made the sun, the moon, and the stars and put them in the firmament.
Mm-hmm. Shemaim.
Okay, well, how can that be if it's solid?
They're wrong.
Remember, there's more than one heaven, guys. He called it the firmament. He called the sky the firmament too. There's more than one firmament in the Bible. Just like when Sean said earlier, he believes there's 7 heavens. The Bible describes more than one firmament. Each firmament has its own particular structure and purpose.
His argument is diminishing God because God can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the problem here? There's no problem here.
Yeah, he's limiting God.
No, you got two meanings for the firmament. You got one that's solid, and you got one that's ethereal. And that's where the celestial bodies can fit in. And if you follow the meaning of firmament, the rakia or raka, it's another derivative of it, throughout the Old Testament, you see those two meanings.
So let me try and get the gravity explanation then. So,
well, gravity's fake, and this is how we know because it's all buoyancy.
That's a good one straight away.
Because
From the get-go.
this I can prove.
I love the way he comes in.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
That's what it is. Shut the fuck up.
Right. That's
Yeah,
a great flat effort response right there.
Yeah, but it's just so casual. It's like, I'm just going to tell you, gravity's so rubbish, man. Let me tell you why.
Why does a balloon float, Tim? Is that
Archimedes' law of displacement,
which was discovered long before
there we go.
Gravity, right? I mean,
Archimedes' principle 1,900 years before gravity was postulated. Exactly. I'm happy you look. So it actually does know what it does. Listen to it.
Yeah,
but we put the little g in there now.
Mm-hmm.
So because gravity comes from gravitas, which means heavy. So it just means that objects are heavy; they have a weight.
Mm-hmm.
As to what causes objects to have weight, that's the real question, right?
So the issue then would be, I'm trying to understand, and maybe I'm getting it wrong. The Earth is massive, and with Planck particles occupying 99% of space, there is a massive vacuum that is.
What's it just told him?
Yeah, he's not even listening at this point.
Planck particles.
Right. That's not Witsit point.
Yeah. Witsit is telling him that gravity doesn't exist, and even Bob brought it up.
The word that gravity came from is gravitas, which means weight.
Yeah, it just means to have weight.
Yeah, follow the conversation, Tim. What's going on?
But now he's going back to the Planck particle, which is totally unfounded and just a belief by Dr. Sanjanas.
Right. Yeah, that's his ether claim.
Yeah.
Tim, keep up. Whitson and that guy's not on the same. Y'all talking about gravity. Keep up, Whitson, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth pulling everything towards it.
Well,
to balance.
The Earth also has Planck particles in it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So the Earth is
he's saying everything in reality is made out of Planck particles. He means Planck particles is what makes substance, mass. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Tim, keep up. Y'all talk about gravity right now. I mean, I think y'all was done with the Planck particle thing. Like that's why Rob got to come back to the conversation.
I got a question. Wouldn't Planck particles eventually disintegrate from creating a vacuum? It would vibrate them apart.
He's saying
He's
that's what causes vacuum.
Yeah, but
One's back bad.
sorry.
You do YouTube on Roger.
No, I don't.
Well, there's an echo from somewhere.
Yeah, it's the warehouse I'm in back here. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No,
I'll leave it.
it's not that kind of. It's actually like it's echoing back. It's not like an echo from the warehouse.
Yeah, I think it's echoing real bad.
Okay, please go on.
Effectively, this gigantic structure with massive vacuum force pulling everything around it to it.
That's right. That's right. And
What's the conventional gravity theory of gravity?
So whoa, wait a minute.
To be clear, I'm not a physicist.
It just ignores what's it again.
Yeah, what's going on?
Why is he getting now straight to what's the conventional? Why don't you just let what's it finish?
Yeah,
his
he
thing?
keep putting these two globers against each other.
Yeah.
Totally ignoring Whitsitt.
That's all right.
I'm just an amateur astronomer who enjoys looking at the stars.
Wait, are you a doctor?
I'm a doctor of neuroscience.
Then we'll say doctor, but keep that part quiet.
You're a doctor.
Yeah, no, I don't know much about theoretical physics and about what causes mass to have gravity. That's outside of my wheelhouse, to be honest. But
well, it's the theory of relativity. It says that gravity is the bending and warping of space. It's the effect of the bending and warping of space-time, and that it displaces the space-time, causes a gravity well, and basically objects fall inside this well.
And you know what's funny about that? What's it? Scott claimed to be talking about general relativity earlier, so he should know this.
Yeah, but now he's saying he don't know about it. So Scott just wasted our time earlier.
Contradiction. Walking contradiction.
Wow. He's supposed to know this because he's talking about special general relativity.
Yeah, he talked for 30 minutes about it and told us, we've been Jedi mind tricked.
Hey, guys, do I have an echo now?
Newtonian.
Am I echoing?
Yeah, a little.
Yeah,
a little better now.
A little bit.
No, it's not
Better now.
It's not an echo. It's not an echo warehouse. You've got another YouTube.
I had to mute him, unfortunately, because sorry, Roger. I had to mute him because it is echoing very bad. So as soon as we say something, it repeats it, and it repeats it 3 times practically. So something, I think you might need to drop. There we go. He dropped. Yeah. Okay.
Which is that matter inherently has some property that pulls things to it. And actually, Newton said that he couldn't understand it. It must be God doing it. And most people won't talk about that. He just straight up said God must be doing it. He threw his hands up. He said there had to be an ether if it existed because there had to be mutual contact between the bodies and stuff like that. But this is interesting because people will say like, "Hey, stupid flat earther, what's gravity?" Right? But the mainstream model doesn't have a viable model for gravity.
Right,
it's not even remotely close.
Exactly. When you ask them what is gravity, we don't know. The anti-flat earthers will just say it's mass attracting mass due to the inversely square root of proportional to the mass and the distance. That's what they say. But that's just them parroting their Newtonian belief system. And then they will ignore that Einstein superseded Newtonian gravity 110 years ago. What? Jermaine, I just realized Flats is here too. Dude,
it's Flats' stream. Tim's mad. Yeah, I'll show it tomorrow on my stream, Sandro. It'll look pretty cool. We'll do it at the start before we start the topic.
Is the flat Earth? I've read this, and it may not be the actual one, but what I've read was that the Earth is moving upwards.
No, total straw man, total straw, insane.
Yeah. You see what you're doing, Dal? Yeah. See why we all get lumped into this upward rising Earth of Dal. Sad.
But Austin, you don't believe in relativity, right? I mean, you don't believe that the sun is 93 million miles away. You don't believe that you're.
That's not what relativity says, man.
Yeah, what is he? Keep up, Adam. These guys is not keeping up with the conversation.
Relativity doesn't say about the distances. Relativity is not about the distances.
But the point is, why is Scott talking? He just admitted he know nothing about this.
Yeah, exactly. Look,
so now he know things about it again, like.
Okay, based on relativity, the distance is with the mass is fine, but it's not about the distance which it's talking about. It's talking about the reference and why it moves towards each other. It's saying why it seems to have a curved path while in fact it has a straight path. If you also realize general relativity talks about space being flat. Weird.
Look, quick note. From our perspective, it was a valid point that he said that the firmament is firm. Yes, solid. But for the globers, they won't even notice that.
No, they
And
won't.
go above their head, just 1 ear in, second out. That's it.
Yep. 1 ear
So
and
they
out
won't
the
notice
other.
that stuff at all. We are focused on it because that's a good point. Yeah, it's a great point. But unfortunately, they won't see it. They won't understand it. They won't see the bigger picture. But still, it's great that they're bringing this kind of programs because a team has pretty wide audience. So yeah, he is exposing them to different points of view, which is good.
Yeah, I think it's an exposing Scott here because
Yeah.
Scott is
But I still
clearly
think that the team is controlled,
outmatched in this.
unfortunately.
Yeah, this is going over his head. It's going over Tim's head too because Tim not keeping up neither now.
Mm-hmm.
You're conflating things. So I believe in the principle of relativity. I don't believe in the theory of relativity. It's ridiculous.
What's the difference? What do you mean by it?
Meaning that things are relative. Like I can be moving in a car and it looks like the tree's moving. Obviously, that principle is real long before Einstein was even a thing. But the theory of relativity is
Matter of fact, Bellarmine used that against Galileo. The theory of relativity, principle of relativity.
Principle, exactly. So that but gravity doesn't work at all in the mainstream model. It's such a misnomer. In 1933. Fritz Zwicky looked at a coma cluster, so it's like a cluster of galaxies all together. And to keep the galaxies together, there had to be a certain amount of gravitational force, right? So gravitational field had to be certain strength, and it only had 1% of the mass needed based on the gravitational prediction. Gravity was off by 99%. To this day, it's off. Dark matter is what they called it. At first, they called it.
Yep, exactly. This is why we call it the God of gaps arguments. That's why they have today dark matter and why they have quantum foam. It's because of that.
What's going on? I don't know what's
Called
going
missing
on.
mass. Then they just plugged in the value to fix it, and now it's called dark matter, completely undefined. It's just invisible, effectively, is what dark.
Yeah, it's like we can't detect what it is. We don't know what it is, but it clearly has some kind of gravitational effect on.
Yeah, we can see gravitational lensing in galactic clusters. We can see that we
What does that have
expect
to
that
do with dark matter, though?
because galactic clusters have a lot of dark matter, and so if you look
What
at
is dark matter?
How he knows that?
If you look at galactic clusters,
Yeah, how do you know that? So he knows more than the physicist claiming to not know anything about dark matter.
It's just mind-boggling, Just,
And this is after he just says he doesn't know about it.
Double speaking is real.
Oh yeah, big time. I agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, first he was a genius and he knows everything about it. And there was no reference frames. Then it was reference frames. Then somebody put him on blast again. They asked him, "Hey, what do you know about gravity again?" "Oh, I absolutely know nothing about gravity." And then now Whitsitt makes a point, and now he's a genius again. That's just.
You just ask simple question. What's the gravity? That's
Jacqueline Hine, whatever, I guess.
Well, I can quote the spokesperson for the Globe, Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. When they ask what's gravity, Neil deGrasse Tyson answers, "We don't know. Next question."
Exactly.
Aye. Exactly. Still lying.
Okay. We had the poll going, the whole stream, and after 151 votes, who did better? Flat, 71%, Globe 25%, none 3%, both the same 2%. Very interesting.
Yeah, but we have a community here who knows what's the truth, So if you would do the same poll on the Globe channel, they would say Globe is better, So we are kind of biased a bit, but we are biased in a good way.
Well, you don't have to be biased to realize what we saw tonight. The Globe really.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
But yeah, I think we had a nice long stream. We'll do the other half tomorrow night.
3.5 hours. Excellent, man. Excellent.
PJ, did you go to the email?
Sorry?
Did you go to the email? Did you read it?
Oh no, I haven't yet. I've been really busy. I
Right.
will do, bro. I will do. Promise. But no, I
Flat,
haven't.
did you go through all of it without films, videos?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's going to take a little
A lot of
while.
Lot of what?
It's going to take a little while.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right, hold on. I've got to put. I'm just getting your link for Vicky.
So tomorrow night we'll start the stream a half an hour earlier, guys. So we usually start at 9 o'clock Central African time. Tomorrow night we'll start at 8:30 Central African time because I have a feeling it's going to be a bit longer, and because it's a Sunday, and I have work the next day, I think starting half an hour earlier might be just a bit safer. But yeah, any thoughts and closing statements for tonight?
Oh, what the heck? Sorry, 86.
Okay, Janus, first.
I think, obviously, Flatzoid did that. It was a decent enough conversation. But the other side kind of, it's the same old. But it was, at least it wasn't like a battle, like we make two and stuff like that. It was friendly enough. But they were wrong. They were wrong.
Yeah.
I think exactly. It was good. Good stream though. 3.5 hours, like it.
Yeah.
The panel's getting excellent. Like this panel was excellent. I had a panel earlier on. Excellent panel. Fantastic. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Good. Love it.
And Reg.
Yeah, I think it was just another example of I mean, the two flat earthers in the room barely got any chance to really speak or lay out any of their points. But you could see that they was more knowledgeable about the subject than even the Glober that appears to be on Witset's side. Like, I mean, because he was kind of going against his own model at a time. And most of what the Globers are saying is based upon just theories and things that they can't really back up. And then now we got a lot of admissions, at least from Scott, that he cannot back up any of these claims, and pretty much he don't even believe a lot of these things even exist, and then they only exist whenever he want to lay out arguments. So, we just, from what we see, hopefully the second part we'll get more of Whitsit and maybe even Alex Stein talking a little bit more. It should be their turn at this part, at this moment, but we'll see.
No, I agree. Janus?
Yeah, it's always great to speak with you guys. Always on the same level with you.
Right.
And I'm great that the team brought this program, so it is posing different ideas. So maybe some of them will look into it, and if they look into it without bias, they will welcome them in the flat Earth community. So the thing is, so they always bring a different constant to the equation, so it will work. Because without that, their math will not work. So they need to introduce something which has nothing to do with the reality, and that's what people don't get it. So it all works on deception and lies, unfortunately. But people are starting seeing it. It's good.
Yeah, definitely. Roger?
Well, I'm glad to see Witcher's and he's listening finally. I'm proud of him actually. He put on a good argument.
He did. Did a decent job. I don't agree with
the other two. You can ball them up and put them in my hair. They're not working.
And I was very surprised with even Alex Stein. I was really surprised that he brought as well. So,
yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. We're gonna see if we can hopefully finish it tomorrow, the last hour.
That'd be cool.
But I do appreciate everybody. Thank you for all the super chats, all the likes. If you haven't hit the likes already, please do. Really appreciate it. Please share the show, and I hope to see you all tomorrow for another awesome show. Many blessings, and may the pressure with you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Crafted signs of the divine. I'm made for something true.
You can see a bus.
Flat Earth made by him. My journey long.